Chapter 2134. When Feng Zhangxia saw Zhao Wenshi and Zhao Tianhu enter the courtyard, she called out to them, "Hurry up and wipe your bodies. Once you're done, we can prepare to eat." Zhao Wenshi sniffed and asked, "I smell that today's food smells particularly good. Why is that?" Feng Zhangxia said, "Today's food was cooked by Zhu." Zhao Wenshi was pleasantly surprised and asked, "So it was Zhu who cooked it? It's really good. It smells good." Jin Zhu was a little embarrassed by Zhao Wenshi's praise. She smiled shyly and replied, "Father, you're too kind. We'll know if it's good or not after eating it." Zhao Wenshi replied without hesitation, "It's good, it's good. It's definitely good." Feng Zhangxia also praised, "It's really good. I didn't know that Zhu was so good at cooking before, so I didn't let her cook. Today, I tried it for the first time. I didn't expect her to show off her skills. Her cooking is much better than mine. Our family also has someone who can cook. We'll have a good meal in the future." Jin Zhu lowered her head and greeted them with a smile, "Father, hurry up and wash up. Once you're done, we can eat." "Okay." Zhao Wenshi answered happily. Zhao Tianhu glanced at his wife from the side and a sweet smile appeared on his face. Hearing his parents praise his wife, a sense of pride emerged in his heart. It was good to have a wife. At this moment, he was also a little impatient to try his wife's cooking. Shen Pan was sitting in the courtyard with Zhao Yangyang. When she heard Feng Zhangxia and Zhao Wenshi's words, she felt very uncomfortable. Ever since she married into the family, Feng Zhangxia and Zhao Wenshi often praised Jin Zhu, but they rarely praised her. In the past, they would think of her whenever there was something good. Now, they only thought of Jin Zhu. Although she didn't care for some things, she still felt uncomfortable when faced with this situation. Looking at the smile on Jin Zhu's face, Shen Pan felt like it was an eyesore. Zhao Wenshi carried a bucket of water to the courtyard. Together with Zhao Tianhu, they took off their clothes and wiped their upper bodies with a cloth to wipe off the sweat on their bodies. They were only temporarily wiping themselves off so that they could eat. They didn't want their stinky sweat to dirty the food. After eating, they would have to take a bath again. The two men were shirtless, especially Zhao Tianhu, whose muscles were exposed. He had a good figure. Although his skin was a little dark, his muscles gave off a sense of strength. Women with such a good figure couldn't help but sigh when they saw it. That was because Jin Zhu was Zhao Tianhu's husband. Jin Zhu had seen Zhao Tianhu's entire body, let alone him being topless. Therefore, she looked at him generously without much embarrassment. But Shen Pan was different. Zhao Wenshi and Zhao Tianhu were shirtless and wiping themselves off in the courtyard. She was also in the courtyard, so she couldn't help but accidentally see it. Zhao Tianhu's firm chest and strong arms were deeply imprinted in Shen Pan's mind. Shen Pan's face turned slightly red, and she hurriedly looked away. Unlike Zhao Tianlong, Zhao Tianhu often worked in the fields. When he had the chance, he would go to Hayang City in town to help earn money. He worked a lot, so he wasn't like Zhao Tianlong. He looked gentle and weak, but Zhao Tianhu's figure was clearly one with strength. Chapter 2135. Zhao Tianlong's body was relatively weak, so he could only last for a few minutes. Every time they did it, Shen Pan would feel that Zhao Tianlong had already finished before she could satisfy him. Every time it ended, Shen Pan would feel a little lonely. If only Zhao Tianlong could be half as good as Zhao Tianhu in that aspect. Thinking about this, Shen Pan remembered that Zhao Tianlong had not returned for a long time after he went to the capital to study. It was equivalent to her staying alone in the house for a long time. As a woman, sometimes she couldn't help but hope that her man would play with her. In the past, it was fine when she was inexperienced, but after experiencing it and knowing how comfortable it was, she felt uncomfortable after not doing it for a while. On the other hand, because Jinju could be with Zhao Tianhu every day, she could do it with Zhao Tianhu every day. In this aspect, Shen Pan was very envious of Jinju. Just as she was thinking about these messy things, a mocking voice came from the courtyard. It was Zhao Xinhui. However, Zhao Xinhui wasn't targeting her, but Jinju. How shameless. You clearly saw my elder brother and Tianhu naked, yet you still looked. Your eyes can't even leave Tianhu's body. Don't you know how to restrain yourself? Why did our old Zhao family marry such a slutty woman? Zhao Xinhui's voice was very sharp and loud, as if she was afraid that others wouldn't hear her. Zhao Xinhui did this because she wanted Jinju to have a bad reputation and be called a slut by the villagers. She was so picky because she didn't like Jinju. After being scolded by Zhao Xinhui, Jinju lowered her head and looked very sad. She was used to being scolded by Zhou Damei in the Jin family. Basically, when others said that she was bullied, she wouldn't talk back. This time was the same. After Zhao Xinhui scolded her like this, although she felt wronged, she thought that Zhao Xinhui was an elder. If she talked back, she would definitely be scolded. Shen Pan'er and Zhao Yangyang were watching the show from the side. Seeing Jinju's red face, Shen Pan'er couldn't help but feel a burst of joy in her heart. Zhao Tianhu frowned. Seeing that his wife was wronged, he was immediately unhappy. He helped Jinju to reply, "Aunt, what you said is wrong." "What's wrong? Are you siding with this slut?" Zhao Xinhui asked angrily. "Auntie, Ju is my wife. What's wrong with looking at my body? Even if I strip naked for her to see, it's fine. How is that shameless?" Zhao Tianhu's words were full of protection. Zhao Xinhui was so angry that his face darkened. Then, he said, "All right, Tianhu, it seems like you really dote on your wife. However, this Jinju is a slut. Even if you protect her, it's useless." Zhao Tianhu was also a little angry at Zhao Xinhui. Jinju was his wife. How could he let his wife be insulted like this? He replied angrily, "Auntie, you said that Ju is a slut. She didn't even blink when looking at my naked body. What about you? Aren't you looking at me for a long time now?" Zhao Xinhui glanced at Zhao Tianhu and said indifferently, "What's wrong with that? I'm your elder. So what if I look at you? I even saw you bathing naked when you were young." Chapter 2136. Feng Zhangxia couldn't stand Zhao Xinhui meddling in other people's business and targeting Jinju, so she stood out and sneered, "That's right, little sister. You're shameless. What's wrong with my family's Ju looking at her own man's body? It's not like she's looking at another man's body." Once Feng Zhangxia mentioned Lord Huang, Zhao Xinhui was displeased. It was because of young Master Huang that she had become the laughingstock of the village. Feng Zhangxia was obviously doing it on purpose. "You." Zhao Xinhui pointed at Feng Zhangxia in anger. How could her sister-in-law say such things to her? "Little sister, don't look for trouble. How did my Ju offend you? Why do you have to hold on to her and not let her go? You're only happy when you bully her." Feng Zhangxia grumbled unhappily. "And, next time, you have to look at yourself. You can't be unreasonable just because you're an elder," Zhao Tianhu said seriously. Jinju stood there trembling. She was very happy to see her man and mother-in-law protecting her like this. She felt a little wronged at first, but after hearing Feng Zhangxia and Zhao Tianhu's words, the grievances in her heart were diluted. When Zhao Xinhui was about to lose her temper, Zhao Baoshan came back from his work in the field. Seeing that the whole family was quarreling, Zhao Xinhui knew who was the one who started it. Zhao Baoshan knew his daughter very well. Zhao Tianhu was an honest man, but he still had a conflict with Zhao Xinhui. It wasn't hard to imagine what Zhao Xinhui had said and done. Zhao Baoshan scolded Zhao Xinhui. Do you have nothing better to do? You won't be happy if you don't anger people. Hurry up and go back to your room. Father. Zhao Xinhui wanted to complain, but Zhao Baoshan glared at her fiercely. Zhao Xinhui was frightened by his fierce look. Zhao Xinhui swallowed the words she wanted to say. She turned around angrily and went back to her room. Feng Zhangxia said to Zhao Baoshan, Father, luckily you're here. Otherwise, Zhu Er would bully us again. Zhao Baoshan sighed helplessly. Hey, don't argue with that girl. She's used to being willful. Father, we don't want to argue with her, but she keeps causing trouble for no reason. We don't like it. She shouldn't do that. Please forgive her. I'll help her scold her when I see her. Since Zhao Baoshan said that, Feng Zhangxia didn't complain anymore. Even though she disliked Zhao Xinhui, she wasn't soft bun. She had to fight back when she needed to. She couldn't let Zhao Xinhui bully others. If it was in the past, Zhao Xinhui could still give in since she had young Master Huang as her backer. After all, she would be able to reap some benefits. But now that Zhao Xinhui was divorced by young Master Huang, it was impossible for her to reap any benefits like before. Zhao Baoshan sat on a stool in the courtyard and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He had gone to harvest rice as well. He had a few mu of land in his hands, and the grain he planted was enough for him to eat. However, because he had separated from the main family, he had to do the work himself. He couldn't count on his son who had separated from the main family. Chapter 2137. Zhao Baoshan felt a little depressed at the thought that there was still a lot of rice to be harvested. Seeing that Zhao Wenshi had just finished bathing, Zhao Baoshan asked casually, Boss, how's the harvesting of the rice in your family's fields? Zhao Wenshi replied, Tianhu and I harvested a little faster, so we've already harvested half of the rice. Zhao Baoshan nodded. The two of them were indeed a little faster, so they had already harvested half of the rice. His old body and speed were a little slower than Zhao Wenshi and Zhao Tianhu. Ahem. Zhao Baoshan coughed violently. Zhao Wenshi hurried forward and asked, Dad, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? I don't know why, but my chest feels stuffy. I've been feeling a little uncomfortable these days. Zhao Baoshan said honestly. Zhao Wenshi frowned and tried to persuade him, Dad, if you're not feeling well, you should rest for a few days. Don't harvest rice in the fields these days. Zhao Baoshan shook his head. How can I do that? If the weather changes one day, the rice will be soaked by the rain. It's safer to harvest it as soon as possible. But Dad, you're not feeling well. After all, Zhao Baoshan was Zhao Wenshi's biological father. Zhao Wenshi wasn't very filial, but he still had a little conscience. Zhao Baoshan thought for a while, then discussed with Zhao Wenshi. Boss, why don't you help me harvest the rest of the rice? Without waiting for Zhao Baoshan to finish, Feng Zhangxia jumped out and unhappily replied, Father, my Tianlong's father and Tianhu are also busy harvesting the rice at home. Where would they find the time to help you harvest? Zhao Baoshan's face darkened. Since Feng Zhangxia said so, he didn't want to say the rest of his sentence. Zhao Wenshi was worried about Zhao Baoshan's health, so he said weakly, Why don't I help you harvest the rice after Tianhu and I finish harvesting the rice at home? Feng Zhangxia poked Zhao Wenshi with her elbow, then glared at Zhao Wenshi and said, How can you be so free? You'll be exhausted after harvesting the rice at home, and you'll have to rest in bed for a long time. Do you have so much energy to harvest rice for others? Zhao Wenshi suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He wanted to help Zhao Baoshan harvest the rice, but he was afraid that Feng Zhangxia would be angry. Besides, harvesting the rice was indeed very tiring, so he could only give up. Zhao Baoshan snorted softly. He was a little disappointed with the people from the first branch. When there was something good, they always wanted to take advantage of it, but when it came to this kind of thing, they kept rejecting it, afraid that they would be taken advantage of. At this time, Zhao Wentao walked over and overheard the conversation between Zhao Baoshan and Zhao Wenshi. He said, "Dad, there's not much rice left at home. I'll help you harvest it after I finish harvesting it." Zhao Baoshan's sight fell on Zhao Wentao. He praised Zhao Wentao in his heart. Among the few sons in the family, Zhao Baoshan's third and fourth son were very good. After going through these things, the comparison became more obvious. Chapter 2138. After listening to Zhao Baoshan's words, Feng Zhangxue was stunned. What did this old man say? Give all the rice harvested by Zhao Wentao to Zhao Wentao. There were a few acres of rice, and there were thousands of pounds of rice. It was worth a lot of money. How could he give so much rice to the fourth branch for free? They were all a family, and the first branch should at least get some of it, right? Feng Zhangxue asked with a pale face, "Father, why did you give so much rice to fourth brother?" Although Feng Zhangxue didn't say it clearly, Zhao Baoshan knew what Feng Zhangxue meant. Just now, when there was no benefit for the first branch to harvest the rice, the first branch refused. Now that there was benefit, they wanted it again. Zhao Baoshan snorted softly and replied, "Just now, I wanted to ask your first branch to help me harvest the rice. I'll give you the rice, but you refused and said that you can't harvest it, so forget it. Now that fourth brother is willing to harvest the rice, I'll give all the rice to him." Hearing Zhao Baoshan's words, Feng Zhangxue felt a sudden pain in her heart. She was so stupid just now. Why didn't she listen to Zhao Baoshan and refuse? Now, she lost such a big piece of meat. Feng Zhangxue even wanted to die. However, for the sake of the rice, Feng Zhangxue still said shamelessly, "Father, you didn't say it clearly. If you said it earlier, Tianlong's father would help harvest the rice even if he was a little tired. You didn't listen to me, and now you're blaming me. Forget it. Eldest brother is weak. After he finishes harvesting the rice, he can rest. I'll let fourth brother harvest the rice for me." "Father, fourth brother definitely can't handle so much rice alone. Why don't we let Tianlong's father help us harvest the rice?" Feng Zhangxue still insisted. She was unwilling to give up such a big advantage so easily. Zhao Baoshan glanced at Feng Zhangxue indifferently. All right. It's just a little rice. How can fourth brother be so busy? You guys were the ones who refused first. It's not that I didn't give you a chance. Now that I've said that I'll give it to fourth brother, your first branch should stop thinking about it." Zhao Baoshan's tone was very firm. Feng Zhangxue knew that there was no room for discussion. There was nothing he could do but feel regret in his heart. He could only watch helplessly as the great benefits were taken away by the fourth branch. "Father, I can help you harvest this rice. You don't have to give it to me," Zhao Wentao said naively. Hundreds of thousands of caddies of grain were given to him for free, and he would feel embarrassed if he accepted it. Zhao Baoshan waved his hand. "I said I'll give it to you, so I'll give it to you. Take it. Today's harvest wasn't good, and you have several children to feed. It's always good to have more food. Father, it's not a problem. I can do more work to earn money. You don't have to worry about me." Zhao Baoshan was a little unhappy. "You child, really. I said I'll give it to you, so I'll give it to you. Why are you refusing? If you refuse again, I won't be happy." Looking at Zhao Baoshan's calm face, Zhao Wentao could only say, "Father, that's fine. I'll take these rice. But later on, if you lack food, you can directly come to my place to get it. Zhao Baoshan responded. In his heart, he sighed. Fourth brother was much better than eldest brother. His words and actions made people feel more comfortable. It was definitely better to give these rice to the fourth branch than to the first branch. Chapter 2139. Zhao Wentao glanced at Feng Zhangxia's pale face. He knew that his sister-in-law was unhappy, so he sighed and didn't say anything more. In fact, he didn't want to take the grain from the several acres of land. After all, it was indeed a great advantage. However, Zhao Baoshan said so he had no choice but to follow Zhao Baoshan's decision. Feng Zhangxia's face was cold the whole time when the people of the first branch were having lunch together. She didn't want to show her face, but thought that it was a pity that she missed such a great advantage. The dishes on the table were delicious with Jin Ju as the cook, but Feng Zhangxia couldn't eat a single bite. She was upset, so no matter how delicious the food was, she couldn't eat it. Feng Zhangxia held her bowl and didn't move. She sighed deeply and said, "Hey, what should we do now? The fourth branch earned a few acres of grain for nothing, and we didn't get a single penny. Alas." Seeing Feng Zhangxia's sad face, Zhao Wenshi sipped a glass of wine, then put down the glass. "All right, we've already given the grain to the fourth branch. What else can we do? There's no medicine for regret in this world. If you hadn't stopped me and let me harvest the grain for father, the grain and the several acres of land would have been ours." When Zhao Wenshi didn't say anything, Feng Zhangxia's heart ached even more. "How would I know? If I knew that you wouldn't let me do it, I wouldn't have done it even if you begged me not to." Zhao Wenshi smiled, and drank another glass of wine. "So, sometimes, don't refuse to do it. The more you're afraid of losing, the more you'll lose. Look at our fourth brother, he's willing to lose. Didn't he make a profit this time?" The corners of Feng Zhangxia's mouth twitched, and she said with displeasure, I know. Although she said that, Feng Zhangxia still didn't want to lose. Feng Zhangxia finished the meal a little gloomily. She washed up early and went to bed. Zhao Wentao and Zhao Baoshan chatted for a while. He could harvest the millet in the fourth branch's rice field by himself, and he could also help harvest the several mu of rice fields in Zhao Baoshan. However, Zhao Wentao discovered that the rice grains in the second branch's fields had not been touched yet. If they didn't harvest a few mu of rice, how could they just throw it away like that? Today's food prices were definitely expensive. A few mu of farmland would be worth a lot of money. However, Zhao Wenshi was still lying in bed after being injured last time. He had no intention of getting up, let alone harvesting the rice in the field. "Father, it's time to harvest second brother's paddy fields. What should we do if second brother doesn't want to get up to harvest?" Zhao Wentao asked Zhao Baoshan to see if Zhao Baoshan could come up with any ideas. Zhao Baoshan furrowed his brows and snorted softly. Of course he harvests his own paddy field. Could it be that he expects others to help him harvest? He has been recuperating in bed for so many days. In my opinion, he should have recovered enough to work in the field. "Father, I'm afraid second brother won't be willing. If he wanted to harvest the rice, he would have gotten up long ago. If he delayed for a few more days and it rained, the rice grains would be wasted. Although second brother's paddy fields are not well managed, and the harvest is not as good as other people's, at least he can harvest some food. He and Tianyu can have more food, so their lives will be better." Chapter 2140. Saying that, Zhao Baoshan dragged his tired body into the room of the second branch of his family. At this time, Zhao Wenshi didn't close the door tightly. Usually, no one would enter his room. After all, no one was willing to clean his room, so it smelled terrible. Zhao Baoshan, however, didn't have much strength at this time, so he walked slowly. His footsteps were very light, so no one heard him. When Zhao Baoshan entered the room, he found that Zhao Wenshui was covered with a sheet, but he didn't move at all. Obviously, he was doing something. Zhao Wenshui's movements continued to speed up. Suddenly, as if he had been released, he let out a comfortable sigh and his hands stopped moving. Seeing this scene, Zhao Baoshan's face immediately darkened. As a man, he didn't need to think to know what Zhao Wenshui was doing. Zhao Baoshan cursed Zhao Wenshui in his heart for being too wretched. He was already a few decades old, yet he was still hiding in the house doing this kind of thing. Moreover, he didn't close the door tightly when doing it. Luckily, it was him who came in. If it were his wives who came in at this time, he would be scared to death. When Zhao Wenshui finished, he found that the room was much brighter. He looked towards the door and saw Zhao Baoshan glaring at him with a long face. Zhao Wenshui was so scared that he trembled and asked in a trembling voice, "Father, when did you come? Didn't you notice when I came in? Why are you so focused on your work?" Thinking of what he had just done, Zhao Wenshui didn't dare to tell Zhao Baoshan. If he did, Zhao Baoshan would scold him to death. Seeing Zhao Baoshan's angry face, Zhao Wenshui complained in a low voice, "Father, why didn't you tell me that you came in? You're so..." Zhao Baoshan snorted coldly. "What kind of shameful things are you doing at home that I have to knock on your door a few times?" Zhao Wenshui felt guilty and didn't dare to respond to Zhao Baoshan anymore. He mumbled, "Father, I was just joking, I'm here to talk business with you," Zhao Baoshan said with a serious face. He was too lazy to discipline Zhao Wenshui. Most importantly, he knew that Zhao Wenshui would not listen to him. Since he couldn't educate him well, why should he bother? "Dad, what do you want to talk to me about?" Zhao Wenshui asked. "It's time to harvest the rice in your family's fields. Get up tomorrow and harvest the rice." Hearing that, Zhao Wenshui frowned and looked at Zhao Baoshan with embarrassment. "Father, I haven't recovered from my injury yet. How can I harvest the rice?" Zhao Wenshui didn't want to harvest the rice. In fact, he planned to ask his brothers to help him harvest the rice. Based on his understanding of Zhao Baoshan, his father would definitely not be willing to let the rice in the several mu of paddy field go to waste just like that. He would definitely think of a way to help him harvest the rice. In this way, he would be able to slack off and not have to exert himself. While Zhao Wenshui's wishful thinking was going well, Zhao Baoshan's face darkened as he scolded, "Your body is really precious. Haven't you recovered after recuperating for so long?" Zhao Wenshui trembled in fear, but he still murmured, "Father, I haven't recovered from my injury yet. I can't even exert my strength. How can I harvest the rice?" Chapter 2141. Zhao Wenshui blushed for a second. "Father. It's different. Why is it different? You have the strength to do dirty things, but you don't have the strength to work in the fields. You little brat, you only know how to bluff. Everyone knows that you're just trying to be lazy. Let me tell you, you can't waste the several acres of paddy fields in your family. You don't plant the paddy fields yourself, but Lao San and Lao Si help you with the irrigation and weeding. Now that it's time to harvest, you have to do it yourself. You can't count on others, right?" Zhao Baoshan said with a serious face. If Zhao Wenshui refused, he would probably be scolded again. Zhao Wenshui lay in bed for a long time. He felt that he couldn't even get up to walk, let alone go out to work. If he finished harvesting the several acres of paddy fields by himself, he would probably have to lie in bed for 10 days to half a month. He might even die from exhaustion. Now he was unwilling to do it. Zhao Wenshui rolled his eyes, thinking about what to do. After a few seconds of silence, Zhao Wenshui said in a weak voice, "Father, even if I recover, I can't harvest so much paddy fields by myself. Why don't you help me find some people and I'll pay them to help me harvest? Zhao Baoshan was still unwilling to do it. Find people to harvest for you. Let's not talk about the fact that everyone is busy harvesting paddy fields in this season. Even if you can find some people, is it worth it to hire people to harvest for you given the small harvest in your fields? Lao Er, I know that Jing got married and you saved some money. You still have some money left, but no matter how much money you have, you can't afford to waste it like this. If you go on like this, it will run out soon. Tianyu is still young. As a father, if you don't work harder, how can you raise Tianyu? Such a gluttonous and lazy person, I'm afraid he can't even feed himself. Zhao Baoshan said to Zhao Wenshui earnestly. He thought that Zhao Wenshui was an adult and should be sensible enough to listen to him. However, Zhao Wenshui replied, Dad, don't worry about it. I'll go find Jing when I run out of money. I'm her father, and I helped her find such a good marriage. I'm really out of money, and I'm starving to death. Jing can't leave me alone, can she? With Jing here, I definitely won't live too badly. Father, you don't have to worry about this. When Zhao Baoshan heard Zhao Wenshui's words, he couldn't help but cough a few times. He was wondering why Zhao Wenshui wasn't worried at all, but it turned out that he had already made up his mind. Jing did marry into a rich family, but as a parent, he couldn't always shamelessly ask for money when his daughter got married, could he? If the Jing family knew about it, they would have a bad opinion of old Zhao's family. Zhao Baoshan was a man who cared about his reputation. He didn't want others to say that he was greedy for money. Zhao Wenshui, on the other hand, had really embarrassed him. How on earth did he give birth to such a gluttonous and lazy thing? The more Zhao Baoshan thought about it, the angrier he became, and coughed more violently. Dad, what's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well? Zhao Wenshui asked with concern. Zhao Baoshan found that he couldn't talk to Zhao Wenshui now. He might be angered to death by Zhao Wenshui. Chapter 2142. Zhao Wenshui lay on the bed, feeling a little confused. He didn't say anything wrong. There was no need to worry. If he ran out of money, he could go to Zhao Jinger. Anyway, he wouldn't starve to death. His father was just too considerate and looked for trouble. Zhao Baoshan coughed and came out of the room. Then he said to Zhao Wentao, Lao Si, go back and discuss with your eldest brother and third brother. Go and collect the rice in Lao Er's field and keep it for yourself. Don't give it to him. Father, does Lao Er not want it? Zhao Wentao asked with a frown. If he wants it, why hasn't he collected it yet? Zhao Wentao nodded. That's right. Father, we'll collect it for Lao Er later. After telling this matter, Hu Chunhua just finished cooking, so Zhao Baoshan went to eat. There were too many things to worry about at home. He was already so old. When would he be able to stop worrying so much? Maybe she worried too much. In the future, she should worry less about the affairs of the other branches, so that she wouldn't be worried and angry. The others in the first branch finished eating, washed up, and went back to their rooms to sleep. Jean Ju saw a layer of skin peeling off on Zhao Wenshui's arm. She hurried forward and asked, Husband, what happened to your arm? Zhao Tianhu grinned and said, It's nothing, my wife. It's just that I was exposed to the sun when I was harvesting rice outside, so my skin peeled off. It was the same in the past. After harvesting the rice, I'll just rest at home and be fine. Zhao Tianhu said it very lightly, because he didn't want Jean Ju to worry. Jean Ju frowned. It's painful to look at it. How can you say it's nothing? Looking at his wife's distressed eyes, Zhao Tianhu smiled more happily. His big white teeth were shining in the candlelight. Now that he had a wife, the feeling of being distressed was different. It was not like before, when no one cared about him no matter how serious his injury was. Now, there was someone by his side all day long, who cared about every little thing that happened to him. This feeling was really wonderful. Jean-Ju looked up and saw that Zhao Tianhu was actually laughing. She muttered angrily, "You're already like this and you can still laugh. Is your brain damaged?" Jean-Ju said and gently punched Zhao Tianhu's chest with her fist. Zhao Tianhu grabbed Jean-Ju's hand and grinned. It feels so good to have you care about me." A blush appeared on Jean-Ju's cheeks. She lowered her head and muttered, "You are my husband. If I don't care about you, who do I care about?" Hee, my wife, that's why I'm so happy. With your words, even if I suffer heavy injuries, it's worth it. Jean-Ju glared at Zhao Tianhu. What nonsense are you talking about? Who would want to be seriously injured? Wife, I'm just saying, Zhao Tianhu smiled and his face was full of sweetness. Jean-Ju sighed and felt that she had met a silly husband. Continuing to stare at the peeling skin on Zhao Tianhu's arm, Zhao Tianhu said, "Husband, I'll go to Dr. Sun tomorrow to get you some ointment. You should feel better after applying it on your arm." Wife, there's no need. I'm really fine. If I go to Dr. Sun, I'll have to spend money. After a few days of rice harvest, I'll be fine after resting at home for a few days. Chapter 2143. In the next few days, everyone in the village was busy harvesting rice. Zhao Yun's family didn't have a lot of fields. Zhao Wenhua and Zhao Tianan were fast enough, so they finished harvesting the few mu of rice in her family's fields. This was because the fields were small. If the family had more fields, the two of them wouldn't be able to handle it. At that time, they would have to hire people. Now that she had saved a lot of money, Zhao Yun had thought about buying more fields in the village. In ancient times, fields were the foundation. The annual grain harvest was also a large income. If the family didn't have enough hands, they could hire people to help them farm. Or they could save a lot of trouble and directly contract the fields to others after buying them. Although Zhao Yun had bought some fields before, it was already past the rice planting season. These fields could only be planted next year. This year's farm work was only a few mu of the family's fields, so they weren't too busy. After this busy period, he could start preparing to plant the tea leaves and build the pigsty. Because this season was very hot, and they had to go to the fields to harvest rice, Zhao Yun especially prepared some soups for the family to relieve the heat, such as iced sour plum soup and iced mung bean soup. Although it didn't cost much, it was a summer medicine for people who were exposed to the sun in the fields. Especially after being iced, it was very cool and very comfortable. Zhao Yun sent some of these things to her family, the fourth branch, and Mulan's family. After all, there were many people in the family. If she sent to everyone, it wouldn't be enough. Seeing that Zhao Yun's sour plum soup and mung bean soup were good, the first branch's people set their eyes on them and wanted to ask Zhao Yun to drink them. Zhao Yun had given them a few times for free. Seeing that the first branch's people continued to ask for more, Zhao Yun was a little unhappy. She gave them once or twice out of friendship, but she wasn't a fool. She wouldn't give them for free. After they formed a habit, not only would they not feel grateful, but they would feel that it was natural for her to give them. When Zhao Yun refused to give them more, Feng Zhangxia couldn't help but complain again. Yun girl, anyway, you cooked a lot at home. We all like to drink it. What's wrong with you giving us a little? Feng Zhangxia nagged. Zhao Yun sneered and replied, Auntie, what you said is really funny. Don't you need the cost of cooking these things at home? Should I give it to you for free? I don't see your family give me any benefits. You make it sound like I should give it to you. Your family is rich, and I like money. Why don't you give me some money to spend? Feng Zhangxia was blushed for a moment by Zhao Yun'er's words. She didn't want to give it to her. She even deliberately ridiculed her. Jin Ju comforted from the side, Mother, Yun has given us many times. We can't ask for it every time she cooks it. No one gets their things for free. We should be grateful that Yun can give us so much. Now that she doesn't give it to us, we have nothing to complain about. Jin Ju's words were very reasonable, and Zhao Yun'er felt comfortable in her heart. If only Feng Zhangxia was so sensible. Birds of a feather flock together. Zhao Tianhu, an honest man, could marry a wife like Jin Ju. Zhao Yun nodded and smiled at Jin Ju, thanking her for speaking up. Jin Ju also smiled back. Chapter 2144. In this season, if they could have some iced sour plum soup and mung bean soup to drink, the men in the family would feel much better. If they didn't have it, the two men wouldn't be used to it. Feng Zhangxia curled her lips and said to Zhao Yun'er, what you said makes sense. We shouldn't take it for free. Why don't you sell it to me, and my family will pay for it? Your eldest uncle and second cousin brother work hard in the field. They will feel better after drinking your sour plum soup and mung bean soup. Zhao Yun'er wasn't a stingy person. For the sake of Zhao Tianhu, she agreed with Feng Zhangxia. Otherwise, she wouldn't care about the money she could get from selling it. After cooking a large pot of sour plum soup, Zhao Yun'er sent it to the first branch and other family members. Then she sent some to Mulan. The two of them went to the field together. There were still many families who hadn't finished harvesting the rice. Zhao Yun'er's family had finished harvesting their own rice, and now she was helping the second branch to harvest the rice. However, Mulan's family didn't have enough manpower because there was only Zhu Eru, so they hadn't finished harvesting the several acres of fields. Mulan's heart ached for Zhao Tianhu. However, there was a lot of housework at home. She also had to take care of the 3 children. She didn't have the time to work in the fields and help Zhao Tianhu harvest the wheat. When they arrived at the field, Zhao Yun'er saw that Zhu Eru's back was already soaked with sweat. Because he had been busy in the field these days, Zhu Eru's slightly tanned skin looked darker now. If he continued to be tanned, he would have the potential to be a lawyer, just like an African aborigine. Of course, Zhao Tianhu wasn't the only one like this. In this season, people who harvested rice in the field would be tanned. Mulan held the iced sour plum soup in her hand and shouted at Zhu Eru, who was busy working in the field not far away. Husband, I've brought you the sour plum soup. Come and drink it. Take a rest. Zhu Eru heard the sound and straightened up. After seeing Mulan, he walked towards Mulan and Zhao Yun'er. Zhao Yun'er and Mulan were under the shade of a tree. With the shade of the tree, it was slightly cooler. When Zhu Eru came over, he was covered in sweat. After sitting down, he took a deep breath. Mulan poured a bowl of sour plum soup and handed it to Zhu Eru. Zhu Eru gulped it down in a few mouthfuls. Comfortable, Zhu Eru sighed and wiped his sweat with his sleeve. Mulan smiled and said, "This is all thanks to Yun'er. If it weren't for Yun'er, we wouldn't be able to drink such a delicious sour plum soup." Zhu Eru nodded in response, "That's right, it's all thanks to Miss Yun'er. This thing can't be bought with money." Zhao Yun'er smiled and said, "You're welcome. I just cooked a little more. It's cold. After a bowl of it, I immediately feel refreshed." Zhu Eru said and poured another big bowl into his stomach. The corner of his mouth showed a satisfied smile. "Husband, do you have a back pain again?" Mulan saw Zhu Eru's back and asked with concern. Zhu Eru smiled as if nothing happened and said, "A little. It doesn't matter." Mulan curled her lips and said, "Every night when you sleep, you cry out in pain. How can you say it's nothing? Let me give you a massage. It will be more comfortable after a massage. As Mulan spoke, she reached out her hand to give Zhu Eru a massage. Chapter 21:45. When harvesting rice, Zhu Eru had to bend his back all the time. In addition, Zhu Eru's waist was injured before, so it was very painful now. Seeing Mulan's hand reaching over, Zhu Eru grabbed her hand and said, "I'm fine. You don't have to rub my back. My back is sweaty now. Even if I take off my clothes, water will come out. If you rub my back, you'll get your hands dirty." Mulan muttered unhappily, "Honey, I won't dislike you. If your hands are dirty, you can wash them when you go back." Zhu Eru smiled helplessly, "I really don't need to. I'll be fine after resting for a while. If you want to rub my back, you can do it when we go back. Lie in bed at night and rub my back well." Mulan's face flushed slightly, and then she muttered, "Okay, I'll rub your back well when we go back. But since your back is so painful, you shouldn't do it at night. You're still thinking about doing it when you're in such a bad condition." Hearing Mulan's words, Zhao Yuner couldn't help coughing a few times, and said to Mulan, "Sister Mulan, I'm still here. You should mind your words. Don't talk about it. Don't be shy." Zhao Yuner's words were just teasing. Only people who had a good relationship with each other would talk about it so unscrupulously in front of each other. Zhu Eru's face also flushed, and he said embarrassedly, Yuner is right. You should be careful when you're outside. Others will laugh at you if they hear it." Mulan replied carelessly, "It's not like I haven't talked about it with Yuner. Why should I be shy?" Zhao Yuner was amused by Mulan. Now that Mulan was with her, she became more and more thick-skinned. Even when talking about this kind of thing, she could still laugh and talk with her. When she first met Mulan, Mulan was very shy. She was definitely too shy to talk about this kind of thing. They chatted for a while, and Zhu Eru also showed a simple and honest smile on his face. Looking at Zhu Eru's posture, Lin Mingya's back was aching. The speed of harvesting rice would probably be slower, and she didn't know when the remaining fields would be finished. Lin Mingya's family's fields were finished. Zhao Wenshui's hands were busy, so they would definitely be harvested faster. Zhu Eru's family's fields. Zhao Yuner's family's fields. Mu's family's fields, S fields could be harvested earlier's family's fields as his fields. How can he help my family's harvesting? Use family's rice. In this weather is a piece one's family's rice. In this weather. It's already hard enough. It is it time. It. Go, it. If it was a simple job, it would be fine. The problem was that it wasn't a simple job. It wasn't good to trouble others in such a hot weather. Knowing that Mulan was embarrassed, Zhao Yuner smiled. Sister Mulan, you don't have to be so polite with my family. After Tianan marries Mu Hin, you'll be my in-law. In the future, you'll be Tianan's older sister, and Eru will be Tianan's brother-in-law. As his brother-in-law, now that he's here to help, shouldn't he be ordered around? It's not good, Sister Mulan, don't tell me you still don't treat Tianan as your family. Mulan hurriedly waved her hand. Of course not. Chapter 21:46. Hearing that, Mulan thought of Zhu Eru's back, so she didn't refuse. Thinking of her relationship with Zhao Yun, she didn't need to be too pretentious. Since Zhao Yun was willing to help, it meant that she really wanted to help. She didn't need to be pretentious and refuse. Okay, thank you so much, Tianan. It's fine. While they were talking, they heard a miserable cry. Then they saw a familiar figure running towards Mulan's family's field. The figure who was crying and running at the same time was Mrs. Zhu. When Mrs. Zhu ran to the three of them, they saw that Mrs. Zhu's face was covered with sweat beads. Her face was pale, and it was obvious that she was frightened. After old Madame Zhu stopped, she gasped for breath and then looked at Zhu Eru. Zhu Eru furrowed his brows and asked, "Mother, what's wrong with you? Why are you in such a hurry?" "Eru, you. Mrs. Zhu was a little out of breath and felt very uncomfortable. Zhu Eru frowned more deeply. "Mom, what's wrong? Take your time. Don't worry." She was out of breath, as if something serious had happened. However, seeing Mrs. Zhu's anxious look, at least he knew that it must be something serious. Mrs. Zhu covered her chest and panted heavily. "Eru, your eldest brother. Your eldest brother fainted. He fainted in the field now." Hearing that, Zhao Eru asked with concern, "Mom, what's wrong with him? Why did he faint all of a sudden?" Although there had been a lot of conflicts with the first branch before, Zhu Dainiu and Zhu Dainiu were biological brothers after all. If something really happened to Zhu Dainiu, he couldn't help but feel a little anxious. There were still several children in the first branch. His mother and his third younger brother relied on Zhu Dainiu. If something happened to Zhu Dainiu, his good life would be affected. Old Madame Zhu shook her head and said, "I don't know. Your eldest brother is fine. He fainted while he was working." At this moment, everyone is busy with their own things and can't find anyone to help. Nyang can only find you. Hurry up and carry your eldest brother back home. Then, find Dr. Sun for him to take a look. Hearing that, Zhu Eru didn't think too much. He said to Mrs. Zhu, "Mom, let's go." Okay. Mulan followed them curiously. She wanted to know what had happened to Zhu Dainiu. Zhao Yun accompanied Mulan to join in the fun. On the way, Mrs. Zhu was out of breath. She ran in a hurry just now. Now she only felt that her legs were sore and weak. She called out to Mulan, who was beside her, second brother's wife, "I can't walk anymore. Hurry up and carry me." Zhao Yun's mouth twitched. She glanced at Mrs. Zhu and was impressed by this old woman. Mulan was a little embarrassed to refuse, so Zhao Yun said for her, "Auntie Family Zhu, are you kidding? You're so fat and heavy. Mulan is so thin and dry. Aren't you afraid that you'll be crushed to death if she carries you on her back? Before you ask someone to carry you, you should at least consider your own weight. Aren't you asking for too much?" The meaning of Zhao Yun's words was to ridicule old Madame Zhu for being shameless and fat. Chapter 2147. Mrs. Zhu's face suddenly darkened, and her resentful eyes fell on Zhao Yun. "You be *tch, I didn't ask you to carry me. Why are you meddling in other people's business?" Zhao Yun smiled. "I just think it's funny, and I can't stand it. And I do like to meddle in other people's business, and I like to tell the truth." "You." Mrs. Zhu put one hand on her waist and pointed at Zhao Yun angrily. Zhao Yun sneered. "Aunt, do you think there's something wrong with what I said? Are you not fat, or do you really think that sister-in-law Mulan can carry you on her back?" "Who said that Mulan can't carry me on her back?" "Second daughter-in-law, come and try." Old Madame Zhu scolded Mulan with a commanding attitude. She was obviously begging for help, but she acted like this. Who would feel comfortable seeing this? In ancient times, mothers-in-law were arrogant and thought that it was natural for their daughter-in-law to do anything. Mrs. Zhu was the same. She thought that it was natural for Mulan to carry her on her back. Mulan teased. "Mother, Yun is right. I can't carry you. If you're not afraid that we'll fall into the ditch together later, I can give it a try. I'm just afraid that I'll accidentally fall down. I'm fine. After all, I'm young, but you're different. You can't stand a fall at your age. If your bones are broken, you'll have to be treated. You won't be able to get out of bed for a long time. I have many children at home, and I'm busy these days. I don't have time to take care of you. Mulan successfully scared Mrs. Zhu. Thinking that she might break her leg, Mrs. Zhu didn't dare to let Mulan try. If she really fell, it would be too late for her to regret. Mrs. Zhu was a little impatient. Forget it. I won't let you carry me. You're useless. Although she was scolded by Mrs. Zhu, at least she didn't lose anything. In the past, Mrs. Zhu scolded her even more harshly, so Mulan didn't take it to heart. Zhao Yun secretly gave Mulan a thumbs up. Mulan was indeed much smarter than before. She learned how to scare people. After a few people walked for a while, they came to the field of the Zhu family's first branch. Zhu Dainyu was lying on the ridge of the field. His face was a little pale. Zhao Yun understood that Zhu Dainyu should have fainted because of heatstroke. Harvesting rice outside in such weather for a long time, after being exposed to the sun, heatstroke was a very normal thing. When family Zhu separated from the family, they kept a few acres of farmland. Zhu Sanlu also got some. Because Mrs. Zhu and Zhu Sanlu lived with the first branch, the few acres of farmland in their hands were given to Zhu Dainyu to farm. It was harvest season, but Zhu Sanlu didn't know anything about farm work. The only man in the family who could work in the field was Zhu Dainyu. Zhu Dainyu harvested all the rice in these several acres of farmland by himself. It was inevitable that he would be tired. In addition, the weather was so hot that he fainted in the field. Brother, brother. Zhu Eru called Zhu Dainyu a few times. Zhu Dainyu didn't respond at all. Zhao Yun said, Brother Eru, he has a heatstroke. Hurry up and take him home. It's very hot outside. The hotter it is, the easier it is for something to happen. Zhu Eru nodded hurriedly and carried Zhu Dainyu on his back. Chapter 2148. Old Madame Zhu hurriedly called out from the side, then quickly send it back. Mrs. Zhu's face was full of worry. She was afraid that something bad would happen to Zhu Dainyu. She knew very well that the family Zhu relied on Zhu Dainyu now. If anything happened to Zhu Dainyu, the whole family would suffer. Zhu Eru endured the pain in his back and carried Zhu Dainyu back to the family Zhu. Mrs. Qi was at home taking care of the children. She didn't expect that something would happen to Zhu Dainyu. As soon as she saw Zhu Eru carrying Zhu Dainyu back, she cried, What happened? Mom, Eru, what happened to Dainyu? Mrs. Zhu was in a bad mood. Seeing Mrs. Qi crying, she replied angrily, Didn't you see that your husband fainted? Mother, why did he faint all of a sudden? Is he all right? Will he die? What should we do if he dies? Looking at Mrs. Qi's anxious eyes, Mrs. Zhu replied angrily, You bitch, do you know how to talk? If you don't know how to talk, then shut up. How can you curse your man to die like this? If something really happens to our boss, I'll tear your mouth apart. Mrs. Zhu's scolding made Mrs. Zhu tremble in fear. She complained, Mom, I'm just worried. What happened to Dainyu? He had a heatstroke. Don't be long-winded. Go and ask Dr. Sun to come over. Mrs. Zhu ordered. Madame Qi hurriedly nodded in response, then ran out of the Zhu family's courtyard. Zhu Eru had already sent Zhu Dainyu back to his room. Mom, should we wait for Dr. Sun to come over now? Zhu Eru wiped the sweat on his forehead and asked. What else can we do if we don't wait for Dr. Sun to come over? Mrs. Zhu said helplessly. They were not doctors, so Zhu Daniu could only wait for Dr. Sun to come and see him. Zhao Yun looked at Zhu Daniu's complexion. Heatstroke was quite serious. Many people thought that heatstroke was just a small matter. In fact, it was not. If heatstroke was not treated well, the mortality rate would be very high. Brother Arrow, help him put a pillow under his feet and make it slightly higher. Sister Mulan, go open the window and let some fresh air in. Zhao Yun instructed Mulan and Zhu Arrow. Then she looked at Mrs. Zhu and instructed Mrs. Zhu, Auntie, go and get a basin of cold water. Then take a towel, dip it in the water, and put it on your head. Mulan and Zhu Arrow did as they were told, but Mrs. Zhu was stunned. She looked at Zhao Yun and asked suspiciously, do you think your words are useful? You are not a doctor. Mrs. Zhu remained suspicious of Zhao Yun. She felt that Zhao Yun was not reliable. After all, Zhao Yun was indeed not a doctor. How could a young girl know so much? She might be talking nonsense. Zhao Yun felt that her kindness was not rewarded. She was obviously helping others, but she was doubted like this. If she had not been afraid that someone would die, she would not have interfered. After rolling her eyes, Zhao Yun said, believe it or not, if anything happens to your son, don't blame me for not helping you. Hearing Zhao Yun's words, Mrs. Zhu began to waver. She wondered whether she should believe Zhao Yun's words. Mulan said, Mother, just listen to Yun. Yun knows a lot. She knows more than a doctor. Chapter 2149. Although Mrs. Zhu didn't really like Zhao Yun, she knew that Zhao Yun was capable. Otherwise, she wouldn't have become as rich as she was now. Her Dania's condition was a little serious. If something really happened as Zhao Yun has said, she couldn't bear the responsibility. Now, she could only treat a dead horse as a living horse. It would be good if she succeeded. Mrs. Zhu splashed cold water on a wet towel and placed it on Zhu Daniu's forehead according to Zhao Yun's instructions. Hey, Daniu, don't scare your mother. Don't get into trouble. If something happens to you, what should I do? Mrs. Zhu saw that Zhu Daniu still hadn't woken up and complained tearfully. Zhao Yun was a little annoyed by Mrs. Zhu's crying. Zhu Daniu was Mrs. Zhu's son after all. It was normal for Mrs. Zhu to worry about her son crying. Mother, don't cry. It's useless to cry now. It'll only harm your body. Zhao Arrow comforted from the side. Mrs. Zhu took the towel and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. She muttered, it's easy for you to say. How can I not cry? Aren't I worried about your older brother's condition? Now that you've separated from the family, only your older brother can be filial and take care of me. If something happens to him, how can I live on? Mrs. Zhu's words were somewhat accusing Zhu Arrow of being unfilial. After separating from the family, she didn't care about him and didn't fulfill her filial duties in front of him. Zhu Arrow couldn't help but feel a little sad when he heard Mrs. Zhu's words. Could she blame him for not being filial? If Mrs. Zhu hadn't mistreated his wife and children, he wouldn't have had to separate from the family like this. Since they separated from the family, he couldn't stay in front of Mrs. Zhu every day and take care of her like Zhu Daniu. Mother, what are you saying? If big brother is really gone, will I still have third brother? You have so many sons. Are you worried that no one will take care of you? Zhu Arrow replied. Why don't you say that you will take care of me? Your third brother is so young. How can I count on him? Mrs. Zhu glared at Zhu Daniu. Zhu Arrow snorted, Mother, third brother can already marry a wife, how is she young? You treat her so well and treasure her so much. What's wrong with being filial to her when you're old? Now that he's a man, he should take responsibility as a man. Otherwise, what's the point of our family working so hard to save money for him to study? Don't tell me that you've already gained so many benefits and now you don't care about anything. Zhu Eru said this to push the responsibility to Zhu Sanlu. Although he knew that he had to be filial to his parents, he was not a fool. Back when they were in the family Zhu, Mrs. Zhu liked him the most. Mrs. Zhu treasured Zhu Sanlu the most. Since that was the case, Zhu Sanlu shouldn't take advantage of the situation. He didn't need to be filial when he grew up. The more benefits he received, the more responsibilities he had to bear. This was equal. Mrs. Zhu snorted angrily. She couldn't argue with Zhu Eru. Madame Qi soon invited Dr. Sun back. As soon as she saw Dr. Sun, Mrs. Zhu immediately went up to him and said, "Dr. Sun, help me take a look at our Dainyu. Our Dainyu suddenly fainted. See if he's okay." Dr. Sun nodded and then walked to the bed. He first checked Zhu Dainyu's appearance and reaction, then checked Zhu Dainyu's pulse. Chapter 2150. Dr. Sun raised his head and glanced at Mrs. Zhu indifferently. "You're an old woman, so you really talk too much. You're not a doctor, so what do you know? I'm diagnosing him, so I have to take a closer look and confirm it first, right? If the diagnosis is wrong, won't you blame me for it?" Mrs. Zhu curled her lips and then said, Okay. Then, Dr. Sun, tell me what's wrong with my Dainyu." Dr. Sun got up and sighed. "He's suffering from heatstroke." "Heatstroke? Then it shouldn't be a big deal. There are too many people suffering from heatstroke these days. Those who work in the field will get heatstroke if they're not careful. He'll be fine as long as he has a good rest." Mrs. Zhu muttered and felt relieved. However, Dr. Sun said very seriously, "Family Zhu's sister-in-law, although it's only a heatstroke, your Dainya's situation is a bit serious. Fortunately, you raised his feet a little and put a cold towel on his forehead. You handled it in time. Otherwise, your Dainya might have lost his life." When Mrs. Zhu heard this, she was shocked. Her lips trembled as she asked, "No way. Dr. Sun, heatstroke is so serious." What do you think? Do you think I'm bluffing you? Heatstroke can be serious or minor. If it's minor, it won't be a big problem after a short rest. If it's serious, you might lose your life. You'd better be careful. It's rice harvest season now, so don't be too tired. Otherwise, it's easy to get heatstroke. Yesterday, I heard that a person in the neighboring village died of heatstroke. Dr. Sun said with a serious face. He made the matter sound very serious because he wanted to attract Mrs. Zhu's attention. Otherwise, family Zhu would look down on Zhu Dainyu too much. If he continued to harvest rice in the field and became too tired, he might really lose his life if he fainted again. After all, it was a matter of life and death. As a doctor, Dr. Sun naturally attached great importance to it. When Mrs. Zhu heard Dr. Sun's words, she was so scared that her face turned ashen. If Zhu Dainyu really died of heatstroke today, it would be a heavy blow to their family Zhu. Mulan looked at Zhao Yun with admiration. "Yun, you're really amazing. Today, my eldest brother's fortune was saved by you in time. Mother, you have to thank Yun. Mulan praised Zhao Yun while speaking to her. Mrs. Zhu was very picky about Zhao Yun. At this moment, Zhao Yun was Zhu Dainyu's savior. No matter what, family Zhu should be grateful to Zhao Yun. Mrs. Zhu glanced at Zhao Yun. Although Zhao Yun had targeted her before and made her unhappy, she still thanked her for saving Zhu Dainyu's life. "Dr. Sun, is there anything wrong with my Dainyu now? When will he wake up?" Mrs. Zhu asked Dr. Sun again. "Let him lie in bed and have a good rest. He'll be fine after a good sleep." If you're still worried, I'll prescribe a cooling medicine to relieve the heat in his body. However, this medicine isn't cheap. It costs 600 copper coins. Think carefully before you decide whether to buy it or not. Dr. Sun made it clear in advance. He was afraid that if he really prescribed the medicine and asked Mrs. Xu for 600 copper coins, Mrs. Xu would say that he was greedy for money and deliberately prescribed such expensive medicine. Chapter 2151. Although Mrs. Xu gritted her teeth and bought it, she still had a pained expression on her face. If it wasn't a last resort, she wouldn't want to spend this money. 600 copper coins wasn't a small amount. It could buy dozens of caddies of meat. If he bought the meat, he would be able to have a good meal. But if she bought the medicine, she wouldn't be able to eat anything and it would be bitter. Dr. Sun nodded. All right, I'll go get you a set. Someone from your family will come with me to get it. You can also pay the 600 copper coins. Mrs. Xu pointed to Madam Qi on the side and said, Eldest daughter-in-law, you go back with Dr. Sun to get the medicine later. Madam Qi quickly nodded. Okay, mother. Mrs. Xu turned to Dr. Sun and smiled ingratiatingly. Dr. Sun, can we give you the 600 copper coins later? Can we put it on credit first? Dr. Sun's face suddenly darkened. He replied to Mrs. Xu with displeasure, I say, you old woman, you're really something. You only want to put it on credit. It's fine if your family is so poor that you can't even afford to eat, but I heard that your family's third son can earn a lot of money from teaching children. You can definitely take out the 600 copper coins and give it to me. If everyone in our village is like you and relies on credit, then I don't need to work as a doctor anymore. I'll just directly help you people. Mrs. Xu was embarrassed by Dr. Sun's words, but what Dr. Sun said was true. If he was kind enough to let everyone put it on credit, then no one in the entire village would want to give money. If they put it on credit, Dr. Sun wouldn't be able to maintain his livelihood. Zhu Eru advised Mrs. Xu from the side, Mother, it's not easy for Dr. Sunday. Since your family has money, then don't put it on credit. Anyway, you have to give it sooner or later. It's not like if you don't give it now, you won't have to give it in the future if you drag it on. Mrs. Xu hesitated and reluctantly took out 600 copper coins and handed it to Dr. Sunday. When she thought about how she had spent 600 copper coins in one go, Mrs. Xu clutched her chest. Her heart ached so much that she couldn't breathe. Sigh, poor people really can't afford to treat illnesses these days. They can get so much money just by buying a few sets of medicine. Mrs. Xu grumbled. Mother, pay more attention to your health. Try not to get sick, Zhu Eru said. Mrs. Xu pursed her lips. It's normal for people to get sick at their age. My old woman will definitely get sick in the future. I'm just afraid that when I get sick, I'll have to spend money. My sons won't bear to part with the money and won't treat me. Thinking of this situation, Mrs. Xu was a little worried. If her sons really refused to treat her, wouldn't she be waiting for death? Zhu Eru's mouth twitched, and he replied to Mrs. Xu, Mother, what are you talking about? If you're sick, how can we not care about you? Who knows? Zhu Eru sighed. He didn't know what Mrs. Xu was worried about. If a person didn't care about his own mother's life and wasn't willing to spend money to treat her illness, then what kind of man was he? He would be struck by lightning later on. After Dr. Sun got the money, he tidied up the medicine box and got up to leave. Then I'll go back first. Take good care of him. Let him rest at home for the next few days. Don't go out to work again. Okay, Dr. Sun, take care. Zhu Eru nodded in response. Chapter 2152. Zhu Eru asked in confusion, Mother, Dr. Sun said that Big Brother is fine and just needs to rest at home. Why are you still frowning? What are you worried about? Mrs. Zhu scowled and glared at Zhu Eru. You brat, it's easy for you to say. Didn't you hear what Dr. Sun said? Dr. Sun said that your big brother should rest at home for the next few days. The rice in our family's field hasn't been harvested yet. Your big brother is resting in bed now, so who will help harvest the rice? We can't waste several mu of rice, right? Our family will rely on these rice as rations for the next year. Otherwise, what will the family eat and drink? Zhu Eru listened to Mrs. Zhu's words and thought that it was true. Now that they had separated, Zhu Dainiu was the only labor force for the first branch and the third branch. Zhu Dainiu was lying on the bed. They can't count on old Madame Zhu to do the work in the fields, nor can they count on Madame Qi. There was another man, Zhu Sanlu. Unfortunately, Zhu Sanlu had been spoiled since he was a child. He had never done any work in the field, so his skin was soft and tender. It was impossible for him to work in the field and harvest the rice now. The rice in the family Zhu's several mu of fields must be harvested. They couldn't waste it. Mrs. Zhu cried for a while. Suddenly, she thought of something and looked at Zhu Eru. She said to Zhu Eru, Eru, you heard what Dr. Sun said. Your big brother has to rest well now. He can't work in the field easily. It's not easy to grow grain in our family's several mu of fields. Why don't you help us harvest it? Anyway, it's not too late to wait for your family's several mu of fields to be harvested. Zhu Eru listened to Mrs. Zhu's words and felt a little embarrassed. If it was in the past, it would be fine if he helped. Harvesting the rice would at most be a little difficult. After all, they were a family. He couldn't just watch the grain in the several mu of fields go to waste. But these 2 days, he felt that it was already very difficult to harvest the rice in his family's fields, let alone helping the first branch harvest it. His waist was very painful. After harvesting for a while, he had to rest for a long time. Otherwise, the pain would be unbearable. Before Zhu Eru could answer, Mulan jumped out and refused very directly, Mother, it's a hot day. Big brother has a heat stroke. Eru may also have a heat stroke. It's already very difficult for him to harvest our family's several mu of fields. If you ask him to help you harvest the rice now, aren't you afraid that he'll be exhausted? Besides, his back hasn't been feeling well these few days. By the time he's done helping you guys harvest, I reckon his back will be crippled. Mother, you, Eru's father's sons, right? You can't just wait for him to be bedridden like Big Brother, so you won't order him around. Old Madame Zhu looked at Mulan angrily. If you don't want to help, then don't. Why are you still making so many excuses? Mulan sneered, Mother, I'm not pulling you. Look at Eru's back and you'll know. Only then did Mother Zhu notice that Zhu Eru had been stooping when he walked. Presumably, there was something wrong with his back. Only then did she bitterly stop arguing. However, when she thought that it was troublesome that there was no one to harvest the rice in the several mu of fields, she muttered, Then what do you think we should do? Your big brother is dying. If I don't count on Eru's son, who else can I count on? Chapter 2153. Your third brother. That's right, Mother. Third brother is a man. In the past, he was young and was still studying. Our family's farm work was carried out by eldest brother and Eru, so he didn't have to do anything in the fields. Now that third brother has grown up, he has to help out with some of the family's farm work. After all, eldest brother and Eru can't do it, so there's no harm in letting him do it, Mulan replied indifferently. Mrs. Zhu frowned and was a little unhappy. Mrs. Zhu treasured her son, Zhu Sanlu, very much. How could she bear to let Zhu Sanlu work in the fields? Seeing that Mulan had spoken, she pursed her lips and replied, How can your third brother do it? He has never harvested rice before. If you suddenly ask him to, he won't know how to do it. Mulan was a little speechless. Mother, who is born knowing how to do everything? It doesn't matter if third brother doesn't know how to do it now. We can let Era teach him slowly. If he doesn't learn now, is he not going to learn for the rest of his life? When third brother gets married, he will definitely have to live separately from eldest brother. At that time, third brother will have to do the farm work himself. We can't expect eldest brother to help, right? Mother, it's fine if you spoil third brother, but you have to be clear. Third brother isn't young anymore. He has to take responsibility when it's time. He's not a child. He won't be protected by you for the rest of his life. Mrs. Zhu knew that Mulan's words made sense. Sometimes, people were like this. They understood the principle, but it was another matter when they did it. Zhu Sanlu was the apple of her eye. She wanted to protect him for the rest of her life. Would Zhu Sanlu be able to endure working in the fields on such a hot day? With his weak body, he would probably complain about not doing it in less than an hour. Zhu Sanlu was also someone who knew how to act spoiled. If he cried and complained, how could Mrs. Zhu bear it? She would definitely do it according to Zhu Sanlu's temperament. Mrs. Zhu's lips trembled and she mumbled, "Second daughter-in-law, it's not like your third brother has nothing to do at home. He still has to teach the children. Mother, isn't teaching half a day's work? The other half of the day can be left to third brother." Mrs. Zhu was still a little reluctant. It's not easy for your third brother to teach. He has to use his brain. Teaching for half a day and working in the fields for the other half is too tiring. He won't be able to bear it. After talking for a long time, Mulan finally understood. Mrs. Zhu was reluctant to let Zhu Sanlu work, so she came up with so many excuses. Since that was the case, there was no point for her to continue. She sighed and replied to Mrs. Zhu, "Mother, if that's the case, then let's hire someone to help harvest them. At worst, we'll just have to spend some money." Mrs. Zhu looked troubled. She asked Mulan weakly, "If we hire someone to help us harvest rice, how much do we have to pay a day? It's such a hot day, and it's such a tiring job. Each person will be paid at least 40 to 50 copper coins a day. If we hire 2 or 3 people to harvest a few mu of land, they'll finish harvesting in 3 to 5 days, Mulan replied. Mrs. Zhu calculated in her mind. If 2 or 3 people were to stay for 3 to 5 days, it would add up to a few hundred copper coins. How could she bear to spend such a large amount of money? If she harvested the rice herself, then she wouldn't have to spend these few hundred copper coins. She could use it to buy meat and eat it to nourish her body. Now, wasn't this letting others take advantage of her and let them make money? Chapter 2154. Mulan replied impatiently, "Mother, you can't do this, and you can't do that. Since you don't want third brother to work in the fields, we can only spend money to hire someone to help us harvest the rice. Otherwise, who would be so kind as to help us harvest the rice for no reason? Not many people would do such a thankless task. It's fine if you can't bear to spend the money. In any case, you're the ones losing out. After all, 1 mu of rice is worth a lot of money." Mrs. Zhu stammered, "I'm just saying. What's wrong with feeling the pinch for the money? Mother, it's fine as long as you've thought it through. However, I've already found the method for you. You can hire someone yourself." Mrs. Zhu originally wanted to count on the second branch for help, but she didn't expect that Mulan would reject her in advance before she could even ask. Mulan knew in her heart that old Madame Zhu liked to scheme. If she hired someone to help with the work, she might even want to rely on her and ask her for money. She wasn't stupid enough to help the first branch pay a few hundred copper coins for nothing. "Mother, if there's nothing else, we'll go back first. Eru still has to harvest the rice." Mulan said her goodbyes. Mrs. Zhu didn't want to keep her, so she could only agree. When they arrived at the family Zhu's courtyard, Zhao Yunhe finally noticed that Zhu Sanlu had arranged a room with some chairs inside. About 10 children sat in the room and studied behind Zhu Sanlu. When she arrived at the courtyard, she heard a poem being recited in the room. Shallow wine is shared in front of people, hugging by the soft jade lamp, looking back into the embrace, always full of affection. Pain, 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 gently pushing the husband, gradually hearing his voice tremble, slightly startled and flushed. Try it again and again, there are no gaps at all. This time the flavor is different. Move, 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 let's wrap our arms around each other, let's put our lips together, let's tongue play. Zhao Yun's face immediately darkened when she heard this. This voice belonged to Zhu Sanlu, and the person who was reciting this poem was also Zhu Sanlu. Zhao Yunhe thought that Zhu Sanlu's temperament had changed, that he had become a good person and knew how to do serious things. But now, after listening to Zhu Sanlu's poem, he realized what it meant by, a leopard cannot change its spots. Even when he taught children to read, he taught them all sorts of nonsense. How was this a proper poem? It was obviously an explicit dirty poem. He did not know where this Zhu Sanlu learned from, but he was very interested in these things and knew a lot about them. This kind of poem was obviously not suitable for children to listen to, because these children were very young. If they were to learn these things, wouldn't it lead the children astray? The so-called role model did not exist for Zhu Sanlu at all. This Zhu Sanlu was a wretched man who made people feel disgusted. The villagers probably didn't know Zhu Sanlu's character. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to send their children here to study. The parents had good intentions. They wanted to learn how to read and write and gain more knowledge. The school's fees were expensive, but Zhu Sanlu's was cheap. More or less, they could learn something. Who would have thought that they would meet a wolf, a tiger, and a leopard like Zhu Sanlu? Zhao Yunhe stopped to listen. Seeing the few children inside, she asked Zhu Sanlu, "Teacher, what is the meaning of this poem that you're reciting?" "That's right, teacher. Why don't you explain it to us? We don't understand." Zhu Sanlu smiled wretchedly. "Why? Do you want to understand what it means?" "Yes, yes." The children nodded in response. Zhu Sanlu's wretched smile deepened. Hee, then teacher will explain it to you properly. Chapter 2155. Because the children were paid to study, they usually listened to the lessons more seriously. All of them held their little faces and waited for Zhu Sanlu to explain. Zhu Sanlu explained with a wretched smile, "Actually, this poem is very, very well written. It has deep meaning, but you are still young, so you probably don't understand. When you grow up and get married in the future, you will understand." The children asked in soft and cute voices, "Sir, why do you have to wait until you get married in order to understand?" "Because this is what men and women do when they are together. If you are curious, go back and secretly see what your parents do when they sleep at night. If you see two big white buttocks bump together, you will know what it is. This poem is about the sweet talk between a man and a woman after they have sex." The children naturally didn't understand this kind of thing, but after hearing Zhu Sanlu's words, they all said that they would go back at night and carefully observe if their parents did anything when they were sleeping, and if two big white buttocks bumped together. What's the matter? Why aren't you walking?" Seeing that Zhao Yun had stopped and was listening to Zhu Sanlu's lecture in the room, she asked curiously. Zhao Yun frowned and replied somewhat angrily, "Sister-in-law Mulan, your third brother is really a good-for-nothing." Mulan was even more puzzled. "Yun what's wrong with my third brother? Isn't he teaching the children to study? Why are you suddenly saying that he's a good-for-nothing?" Facing Mulan's puzzled face, Zhao Yun didn't know what to say. She was embarrassed to say what Zhu Sanlu had done. It would be embarrassing to say it. But if she didn't say it, she couldn't harm the children who were studying under Zhu Sanlu. If the children in the village were all led astray, wouldn't the atmosphere of the entire village be ruined in the future? Now that the children were so old, it was the time for them to develop their worldviews and values. She couldn't let these children be ruined for nothing because of Zhu Sanlu. What's wrong with Yuner? Seeing that Zhao Yuner was silent, Mulan became more anxious and hurriedly asked. Zhao Yuner sighed. Sister Mulan, tell your third brother not to teach anymore. What kind of plaything is he teaching his children? In my opinion, he's a demon with worms in his head. All he can think about is those filthy things. Mulan shook her head, looking like she didn't understand. Yuner, speak clearly. Why do I not understand what you're saying? Zhao Yuner took a deep breath and slowly explained to Mulan. She told her what Zhu Sanlu had taught and what he had said to the child. After Mulan heard this, she was also very shocked. She never thought that Zhu Sanlu would be able to teach a book in this aspect. No wonder Zhao Yuner hemmed and hawed and didn't explain it clearly. How could an ordinary person have the nerve to talk about such things? When she thought about how Zhu Sanlu was a member of family Zhu, Mulan felt very embarrassed. How could he be like this? Fortunately, Zhao Yuner found out about this matter first and told them. If outsiders found out later, their family Zhu would be ridiculed. Living in the village, who would want to be pointed at and gossiped about? Although they had already separated from the family, the things that family Zhu did would still affect the second branch. The other branches of family Zhu could be shameless, but the second branch couldn't stand being ridiculed. Chapter 2156. Dogs can't change their habits. It's not easy for some people to change their temperament. Your third brother is like that. He used to be so wretched. It's impossible for him to get on the right track and teach people now. Mulan sighed heavily. With a bitter expression, she asked Zhao Yuner weakly, Yuner, what should we do now? This matter can't be publicized. It won't be good if people know. But these children can't follow my third brother and learn bad things. Their parents pay tuition so that the children can learn more words and learn more knowledge. They don't want their children to come to our house to learn these things. Zhao Yuner nodded and said, yes, this matter has to be handled carefully. In my opinion. Before Zhao Yuner could finish speaking, Zhu Eru, who had been listening by the side, couldn't take it anymore. With a dark face, he said, in my opinion, just beat him up. If he still doesn't learn his lesson and continues to teach the children bad things, then I'll continue to beat him up. I want to see if his face or my fist is harder. Zhu Eru rushed into the room as he spoke and directly pulled Zhu Sanlu out of the room. Zhu Eru was tall and strong, while Zhu Sanlu was thin and weak like a woman who couldn't even stand up to the wind. Zhu Eru lifted him effortlessly. Zhu Sanlu wanted to struggle, but he couldn't twist Zhu Eru's strength. His collar was lifted, and his neck was a little uncomfortable. Zhu Sanlu asked angrily, second brother, what are you doing? What are you doing? My neck is uncomfortable, so I quickly let go of my hand. I don't know what's wrong with you. How could Zhu Eru let Zhu Sanlu go so easily? He snorted and said, what am I doing? What do you think I'm doing? I'm here to teach you a lesson, you shameless thing. Zhu Eru didn't talk nonsense with Zhu Sanlu. He directly punched Zhu Sanlu in the face. Zhu Sanlu cried out in pain, "Aw, it hurts, it hurts. Second brother, I'm in so much pain because of you. If you want to hit people, just hit people. Why did you have to hit my face? Aren't you afraid of disfiguring me? My handsome face." Zhu Sanlu cried out in pain as he reached out to touch his cheek, looking very distressed. Zhao Yun was almost disgusted by Zhu Sanlu. This effeminate face was actually called handsome. It seemed that some people really didn't look at themselves in the mirror and lived in their imagination. Zhu Sanlu's shouts drew Mrs. Zhu out of the house. When Mrs. Zhu saw that Zhu Sanlu was beaten by Zhu Eru, she was very anxious. She scolded Zhu Daniu angrily, "What are you doing? Second brother, what are you doing? Why did you hit your third brother? You stinking brat, how can you be an elder brother like this? Do you think your third brother isn't pitiful enough? Aren't you afraid of crippling your third brother with this slap?" As Mrs. Zhu spoke, she punched Zhu Eru with her fist, as if she wanted to get back at Zhu Sanlu for his injuries. Zhu Eru snorted and dodged. "Mother, what are you doing? I should teach third brother a lesson. Who told him to do such a thing?" Zhu Eru said with a cold face. After that, his cold eyes were cast on Zhu Sanlu. Chapter 2157. Mrs. Zhu looked at Zhu Sanlu with a pained expression and said softly, "Sanlu, how are you? Let mother take a look. Mother will blow on it for you." Zhu Sanlu said, "Mother, there's no need to blow on it. Help me take a look and see if there are any marks on my handsome face." Mrs. Zhu leaned closer and said with a pained expression, "Your face is a little red and swollen. How can there be no marks? Mother, what should I do? I only have this handsome face left to look at. If my face is ruined, will there be any women who will like me?" Zhu Sanlu asked bitterly, looking very sad. Zhao Yun couldn't take it anymore. This pervert actually cared about his face. In her opinion, Zhu Sanlu deserved to have his face ruined. He didn't have any self-awareness and was too narcissistic. Mrs. Zhu couldn't take it when she heard Zhu Sanlu's cries. She quickly comforted Zhu Sanlu, "It's okay. Actually, it's okay. It should disappear after a while. Your face shouldn't be a problem." Zhu Sanlu still had a bitter expression on his face. "Mother, don't lie to me. Is my face really okay?" "Of course. Why would I lie to you? It's not like I used a knife to shave your face. This injury is no big deal." Zhu Sanlu pursed his lips. "Mother, it hurts. Second brother is too much. I didn't even provoke him. Why did he come and hit me? He hit me so hard. Isn't he afraid of injuring me?" Mrs. Zhu was also a little angry as she asked Zhu Eru, "Second brother, you have to be clear. Your third brother is now a teacher at home. He's doing serious things. They didn't do anything. Tell me, what kind of bastard did he do for you to come and punish him like this?" Zhu Sanlu followed behind Mrs. Zhu and said, "It's strange. Second brother, you have to give a reason for hitting people, right? I know you don't like me, but you can't just come and punish me for no reason." Zhu Eru sneered. "I think you don't repent even in the face of death. Don't you know what you've done? Must I say it out loud? Second brother, tell me then. Anyway, I don't know what I did wrong." Zhu Sanlu, who was hiding behind Mrs. Zhu, replied stubbornly. Zhu Eru sneered, then told them the whole story. "All right, third brother, mother, didn't you ask why? Then I'll say it and see who's the one who's embarrassed." Zhu Eru repeated what Zhao Yun'er said just now. After he finished speaking, he couldn't help but step forward and grab Zhu Sanlu's collar. "You should act like a teacher, right? If you do a good job, perhaps our Zhu family's days will be better. But if you mess around like this, the parents of these children will find out sooner or later. Right now, I'm only giving you a taste of my fist. If others find out, they might chop you up with a knife and teach you a lesson. At that time, you won't even be able to keep your life." After hearing Zhu Eru's words, Mrs. Zhu opened her mouth in disbelief. But she knew that Zhu Eru had a calm temperament and wasn't the kind of person who would make things up. Her third son used to have such a wretched temperament, and it was likely that he still hadn't changed. If things were really as Zhu Eru said, then it was indeed very serious. The villagers wanted to send their children here to learn from Zhu Sanlu and learn to read. No one wanted their children to not only not learn well, but also learn bad things. Chapter 2158. In this way, not only would Zhu Sanlu suffer, but the family Zhu would also be condemned by the villagers. They would not be able to live in Shui Lan village in the future. After all, they would be criticized all day long. They would not be able to live. Most importantly, the family Zhu would lose a source of income because of this. Now, Zhu Sanlu could earn some money to support the family by teaching these children to read and write every year. Without this money, Zhu Sanlu did not know how to do hard work. How could he live the rest of his life? Mrs. Zhu looked at Zhu Sanlu and questioned him. Sanlu, is what your second brother said true? Are you really stupid enough to teach these children such unbearable things? Zhu Sanlu felt guilty, but he was unwilling to admit it. He stammered, Mother, don't listen to second brother's nonsense. I'm not. Before Zhu Sanlu could finish speaking, Zhu Eru's fist hit Zhu Sanlu's other face heavily. I think you're just stubborn. You're thick-skinned and unrepentant. Now you're still going to say that you didn't. I didn't. You haven't read it. How would you know the meaning of the poem? Zhu Sanlu replied weakly. To put it bluntly, he was still unwilling to admit it and was looking for an excuse for himself. He knew that the people standing in the courtyard had not studied. The poem was obscure and difficult to understand. How could people who had not studied know the meaning of the poem? As long as he gritted his teeth and insisted that he did not mean it, he did not believe that Zhu Eru would insist that it meant something else. Zhu Eru was angered by Zhu Sanlu. He turned to look at Zhao Yuner and asked Zhao Yuner about the meaning of the poem. Mrs. Zhu felt sorry for Zhu Sanlu. She thought about it and defended Zhu Sanlu. Eru, it's useless for you to ask Zhao Yuner. She has not studied. What if it's nonsense? Your third brother clearly didn't mean it. If she said it meant it, wouldn't your third brother be wronged? Look at how hard you punched him. You have to figure out the situation before you act, right? Mulan said, Mother, although Yun didn't go to school, her fifth uncle taught her. Her fifth uncle is a scholar. Old Madame Zhu unhappily replied, Who knows? Could it be that she's more powerful than your third brother? Your third brother came from a proper school. She looks like she only knows a little at most. How can she have the qualifications to criticize? Zhao Yun sneered. She looked at Zhu Sanlu and then at Mrs. Zhu. As the saying goes, a loving mother will spoil her son. This sentence is not without reason. Zhu Sanlu's current wretched appearance, old Madame Zhu's contribution cannot go unnoticed. She didn't want to get involved in this matter. After all, it was someone else's business. Unfortunately, what Zhu Sanlu did was too outrageous. She didn't care because she was afraid that it would affect their family's reputation. Zhao Yun's lips curved up. It's fine if you don't believe me. I really didn't go to school to study. My knowledge is not enough to convince others. Family Zhu's sister-in-law, I can understand that you look down on me. But what does this poem mean? Why don't we ask Master Shitzi? He was born in a noble family and is very knowledgeable. He should be able to understand the meaning of this poem, right? Mrs. Zhu thought about it. If they asked Mu Lianfeng would definitely know. Mu Lianfeng's knowledge was much higher than Zhu Sanlu's. He definitely wouldn't misunderstand the meaning of this poem. Thus, she replied embarrassedly, "Okay, Sanlu, let's go ask Master Shitsi. If Master Shitsi is on your side, Mother will definitely seek justice for you today." Chapter 2159. Zhu Sanlu was just making it up. No one had ever studied before, so he believed whatever he said. However, if Mu Lianfeng found out about it, it was obvious that Zhu Sanlu would be unreasonable. With Mu Lianfeng's knowledge, he must know the meaning of the poem. Zhu Sanlu would be exposed soon. Zhu Sanlu refused at once. "No, no, no, Mom, I don't think I should ask His Royal Highness about it." Old Madame Zhu asked with some puzzlement. "Why is that?" Zhu Sanlu pulled up the corner of his mouth guiltily. "Mom, His Royal Highness is a busy man. He doesn't have time to care about so many things. Isn't it inappropriate to bother him about such a trivial thing?" Mrs. Zhu thought for a while and agreed. Why bother Mu Lianfeng about such a trivial thing? Would he have time to care about it? Zhao Yun sneered, "You don't need to worry about it. He has time." Well. Zhu Sanlu didn't know what to say, but he still looked reluctant. Zhu Eru snorted, "Third brother, I think you're guilty. You won't be able to argue with His Royal Highness." Zhu Sanlu pulled a long face. Didn't he just teach Zhu Sanlu a dirty poem? So what? It wasn't as if he had done anything unforgivable. The more Zhu Sanlu thought about it, the more aggrieved he felt. He angrily replied to Zhu Eru, "Second brother, I think you just like to meddle in other people's business and want to find fault with me. Mother, don't pay attention to second brother. He saw that I became a teacher and made money. He was jealous and came out to destroy me." Old Madame Zhu's brows twisted together. Thinking about what Zhu Sanlu said, it wasn't unreasonable. Zhu Sanlu's family had always disliked him. After they separated this time, they didn't expect that Zhu Sanlu could make money through this method. It was possible that they were jealous. Old Madame Zhu looked at Zhu Eru with displeasure. She questioned Zhu Eru, "I say, Eru, are you jealous of your third brother's money? Brothers help each other out, but you, on the other hand, keep finding fault with your third brother." Zhu Eru was angry. He glared fiercely at Zhu Sanlu, who was hiding behind Mrs. Zhu. At this point, he was still trying to quibble and lie. Didn't his conscience hurt? He was truly convinced. It seemed that he had been too lenient on this beast just now. He wouldn't lower his head and admit his mistake unless he was beaten to a pulp. When Zhu Eru wanted to teach Zhu Sanlu a lesson with a fierce face, Zhu Sanlu hurriedly pulled old Madame Zhu and said, "Nyang, you see, second brother's mind was exposed by me. He wants to hit me again. Nyang, you have to help me quickly." Old Madame Zhu was biased. Her heart favored Zhu Sanlu. After listening to Zhu Sanlu's words, she hurriedly stepped forward. Her black claws grabbed Zhu Eru's body. "You brat, I've really raised you for nothing. Sanlu is your biological brother. How can you do this to your biological brother? Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? You're really pissing me off." Zhu Eru didn't have time to dodge, and his face was scratched by Mrs. Zhu. When Mulan saw the scratch on Zhu Eru's face, Mulan was shocked. She exclaimed in a low voice, "Mother, what are you doing? Hurry up and let go." Zhao Yun watched from the side and felt that it was weird. This old Madame Zhu was definitely a fighter among the weirdos. She was also biased to a certain extent. Chapter 2160. Perhaps old Madame Zhu wasn't unreasonable. She was simply standing on Zhu Sanlu's side and helping him. Such parents were really disappointing. Thinking about it, Zhu Eru was also a pitiful person. Zhu Eru's eyes were tinged with loneliness. Zhao Yun knew that Zhu Eru was disappointed because of Mrs. Zhu's actions. They were both Mrs. Zhu's sons, but Mrs. Zhu's attitude towards them was completely different. She acted as if Zhu Eru was just an outsider and Zhu Sanlu was Mrs. Zhu's precious son. Now everything he said was true, but Mrs. Zhu didn't believe it and even targeted him. What kind of parents were like this? Although Mrs. Zhu hit him and the scratches on his face were very painful, he was still Mrs. Zhu's son. There was no reason for a son to hit his own mother. Although he was sad, Zhu Eru just reached out and grabbed Mrs. Zhu's wrist with one hand, so that Mrs. Zhu didn't have a chance to attack again. Zhu Eru stared coldly at Mrs. Zhu and said, "Mother, do you still want to protect third brother? Aren't you afraid that you will destroy him? What's wrong with your third brother? Wasn't it you, stinking brat, who erased him?" Old Madame Zhu shouted angrily. Mulan couldn't stand it anymore and said to old Madame Zhu, "Mother, Eru isn't as sinister as you think. If you believe in third brother and don't believe in others, it doesn't matter. Then we won't care about this matter. When the time comes, it will be our Zhu family that will lose face. Mother, when the time comes, don't blame Eru for not stopping third brother first. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. One day, the people in the village will come to deal with third brother. When that time comes, don't look for us after something happens." After Mulan said this, she took Zhu Eru's hand and said, "Eru, let's not care about third brother's matter." Zhu Eru didn't want to let Zhu Sanlu off so easily, but Mrs. Zhu was in the way. He couldn't do anything even if he wanted to. Hearing Mulan's words, she nodded and replied, "All right, then we won't bother about it. I won't care even if he's beaten to death for doing such beastly things. Let's go, Eru." Mulan didn't want to stay in the family room for a moment, so she pulled Zhu Eru away. Zhao Yun naturally left with Zhu Eru and Mulan. On the way, Mulan looked at the scars on Zhu Eru's face and asked with a distressed expression, "Husband, how is the wound on your face? Is it very painful?" Meeting Mulan's concerned gaze, Zhu Eru pursed his lips and replied, "It's fine. Lan, you don't have to worry about me." Mulan still looked distressed and said, "I'm not worried." "How can I not be worried? The scratches on your face are so deep that blood is oozing out. Why don't we go to Dr. Sun's place and ask Dr. Sun to help you deal with it? I think it will be better." Zhu Eru grabbed Mulan's hand and said softly, "Lan, don't be too nervous. I'm really fine. It's just a small scar. I'm a man with rough skin and thick flesh. How can I be so pretentious? I have to see a doctor for such a small wound." If other men in the village heard this, wouldn't they laugh at me? I don't want to be a topic for those people to talk about all day long. Mulan had to give up, but the worry in her eyes didn't dissipate. Chapter 2161. Mulan's face suddenly turned red, and she glared at Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun smiled, while Zhu Eru was stunned for a moment before he said, "Lan, do you think I'm handsome?" Mulan was too embarrassed to answer, and she looked shy at the moment. Zhu Eru smiled, "If Lan likes my handsome face, then I'd better ask Dr. Sun to get a box of ointment. If it leaves a scar, Lan, you'll dislike me." Mulan also glared at Zhu Eru and complained to Zhu Eru in a low voice, "The older you get, the more shameless you become. You're becoming more and more indecent." Zhu Eru smiled and replied, "Lan, it's just a joke." As they walked together, Mulan thought of Zhu Sanlu and said, "Hey, are we really going to let third brother go like this and let him do whatever he wants?" Zhu Eru's face was full of anger. He was angry when he thought of Zhu Sanlu. It was naturally impossible to let Zhu Sanlu go so easily, but Mrs. Zhu was very protective of him. He couldn't fall out with Mrs. Zhu just to teach Zhu Sanlu a lesson, right? I don't know for the time being. Mother is too protective of him. Zhu Eru said truthfully. Mulan was a little unwilling and looked at Zhao Yun. She knew that Zhao Yun had a lot of ideas, so she asked for Zhao Yun's opinion. Yun, what do you think we should do now? Do you have any ideas on how to deal with my third brother? Zhao Yun frowned slightly. What Zhu Sanlu did couldn't be ignored easily. No matter what, she had to stop it and not let the child learn bad things from Zhu Sanlu. Thinking of what Zhu Sanlu said in school today, Zhao Yun thought for a while and then said, let's observe the situation for the next few days and see if the wretched things he did will be exposed. If someone finds out, we don't have to do anything. He will definitely be taught a lesson. If no one finds out, we'll think of another way. Mulan nodded. She could only do as Zhao Yun said. Zhu Eru continued to work in the field, while Zhao Yun and Mulan went home together. As expected, the next day, the parents who sent their children to the family Zhu school angrily went to the family Zhu school. Early in the morning, Zhao Yun was still asleep when someone knocked on the door and woke her up. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and came out. She saw Mulan standing in front of her house with an anxious look on her face. Sister Mulan, what's wrong? Is there anything you need from me? Looking at the situation, could it be that something happened to Mulan's family? There was a hint of excitement in Mulan's voice. She hurriedly replied to Zhao Yun, something really happened to my third brother. Zhao Yun was still in a daze, but when she heard Mulan's words, she immediately sobered up. She hurriedly asked Mulan, Sister Mulan, is what you said true? Mulan nodded heavily and said, Yun, the family Zhu school is still making a fuss. Yun, do you want to go and take a look? I didn't know at first. It was Aunt Lu who specially came to my house to tell me. Zhao Yun hurriedly said, Sister Mulan, let's go and watch the show. She wanted to see how miserable Zhu Sanlu would be after being taught a lesson by the villagers. Okay. Mulan nodded heavily. She also couldn't wait to go to the family Zhu school. She wanted to see Zhu Sanlu suffer. Chapter 2162. The two of them quickened their pace and finally arrived at the family Zhu. There were many people at the family Zhu. They were all villagers who had come to join in the fun after the incident. There were more than 100 people gathered in the courtyard. Almost half of the villagers had come. It was obvious how serious the matter was. When they arrived at the family Zhu, Zhao Yun asked the villagers who had come to join in the fun. Only then did she figure out how Zhu Sanlu's wretchedness was discovered. It turned out that after Zhu Sanlu taught the poem and said those words yesterday, there really were children who deliberately stayed up at night to secretly watch their parents sleep. When their parents were having sex, they shouted excitedly and their big white buttocks really bumped into each other. The parents were naturally frightened and quickly beat the child. Then, the child said that it was the teacher who told him to do it, which was Zhu Sanlu. The child's parents were very angry. They spent money to send their child to school, but what did Zhu Sanlu teach their child? The child was still young and was harmed like this. As parents, they naturally came to find trouble with Zhu Sanlu. Originally, Zhu Sanlu still wanted to quibble, but in the end, the parents of the other children who attended Zhu Sanlu's school hurriedly asked their children. Their children did not know how to lie. They all said that Zhu Sanlu had indeed taught them in class and had indeed said those words. When the parents heard this, they were furious. They felt that Zhu Sanlu was worse than an animal. Of all things to teach, he had to teach such filthy things to their children. Not only did he cause them to waste money, but their children might also be ruined. They couldn't stand it and naturally came to find Zhu Sanlu to teach him a lesson. At this moment, the parents of the children were beating Zhu Sanlu. Zhao Yun and Mulan heard Zhu Sanlu's screams from afar. No one sympathized with Zhu Sanlu's experience. Everyone seemed to feel that someone like Zhu Sanlu deserved to be beaten to death. He didn't deserve any pity at all. Ah, it hurts. It hurts so much. Mom, quickly come and save me. If you don't save me, your son will be beaten to death. Zhu Sanlu yelled as he blocked the fist that was coming at him. Mrs. Zhu's heart ached as she watched from the side, especially when she saw that Zhu Sanlu's body was covered in wounds. She was so anxious that she started crying. She wanted to rush over and save Zhu Sanlu, but there were many people here, and there were even more people who wanted to take care of Zhu Sanlu. She was just an old woman. How could she be a match for these people? Let go of my Lu. If you continue to beat him like this, he will die. Mrs. Zhu cried. The fists that landed on Zhu Sanlu's body did not stop. A woman angrily replied to Mrs. Zhu, "Look at the good son you've taught. He doesn't do anything good. If this kind of person is left in the village, he'll be a scourge in the world. Killing him is a good thing for the people. Yes, to get rid of evil for the people. You feel sorry for your son, but what about our children? They have been learning a lot from your son. You family Zhu must take responsibility. That's right, that's right. Beat this Zhu Sanlu to death. Otherwise, the resentment in my chest won't dissipate. How could our Shuelan village have such a person? It's disgusting." These people ignored Mrs. Zhu's obstruction and continued to beat Zhu Sanlu, who was lying on the ground. The wounds on Zhu Sanlu's body became more and more serious. In the end, the corners of his mouth were bleeding. Chapter 2163. Otherwise, if he had stopped Zhu Aero's behavior in time and asked Zhu Aero to tell the children not to talk nonsense when they went back, the matter would not have become so big. Now, he was in such a miserable state. Even if he wanted to think of a way to make up for it, there was nothing he could do. Zhu Sanlu was like a beaten child crying for his mother. He shouted at Mrs. Zhu, "Mother, quickly come and save me, mother." Zhu Sanlu's voice gradually weakened because of the beating. Mrs. Zhu could not wait for Zhu Sanlu to be beaten to death, so she had to push Zhu Dainyu and Madame Qi aside. "Why are you two still so inexperienced? Why don't you follow and help your third brother? Are you really going to let him be beaten to death?" Zhu Dainyu and Madame Qi watched from the side, but they were not worried. After all, they were not the ones who beat him. Zhu Sanlu usually deserved to be taught a lesson, but because Mrs. Zhu protected him, no one beat Zhu Sanlu. This time, the people in the village beat Zhu Sanlu to teach him a lesson so that Zhu Sanlu would remember. Zhu Dainyu said, "Mother, you know that my body is weak. There are only a few of us, and so many people came. Even if we wanted to help third brother, we can't do anything. Besides, it was third brother who did such a shameful thing. How can I help him? I want to hide now so that we won't be laughed at by the people in the village and lose face." Madame Qi also followed Zhu Dainyu and said, "That's right, mother. Even if you feel sorry for third brother, you can't not feel sorry for our Dainyu, right? In this situation, how can we let him help third brother? If third brother had been honest, would this have happened?" Mrs. Zhu was angry with Zhu Dainyu and Madame Qi. If even the family did not help, who else could save Zhu Sanlu? He wanted to ask Zhu Aero to come over and help. However, based on what he said and did yesterday, Zhu Aero would definitely not interfere with Zhu Sanlu's matters anymore. Unfortunately, their family Zhu was small and weak. Now that their family was in trouble, they had no one to help them. When Mrs. Zhu saw Zhu Sanlu being beaten, she could only worry helplessly. She couldn't think of anything to do. In the end, Zhu Sanlu's 2 front teeth were knocked out. His mouth was full of blood, and he looked very miserable. Zhu Sanlu was also lying on the ground weakly. His eyes were opening and closing. It was obvious that he was on the verge of fainting. Mrs. Zhu panicked when she saw Zhu Sanlu's expression. Her precious son had been beaten to such a state. It looked like he had lost half his life. If Zhu Sanlu really died, he would definitely not be able to live the rest of his life as an old man who had to bury his own son. Wah! Murder! Murder! Mrs. Zhu sat in the courtyard and cried loudly. Those who were originally there to join in the fun were slightly shocked when they heard the word murder. After all, it was a matter of life and death. If Zhu Sanlu did something wrong, it was fine to teach him a lesson. However, if he really killed someone, the situation would be serious. If someone really died, the authorities would also come to investigate. And those who hit Zhu Sanlu might have to go to jail. These weak villagers were most afraid of being involved with the authorities. Once they were in jail, they might not be able to get out and even lose their lives. The villagers who were going to attack Zhu Sanlu also stopped their attacks. Looking at Zhu Sanlu who was dying on the ground, they felt a little guilty. Chapter 2164. From the looks of it, he probably won't die, as long as we didn't kill him. He deserves to be beaten up like this. It's just to teach him a lesson. So that he won't spoil our village's culture and teach the children bad things. Right. Nothing should have happened. How could he die so easily? It's not like we hurt him too badly. Mrs. Zhu ran to Zhu Sanlu while crying. She hugged Zhu Sanlu who was on the ground and cried, "Lu, don't scare your mother. How are you?" Zhu Sanlu lifted his heavy eyelids and looked at Mrs. Zhu as he spoke weakly. "Mother. It hurts. It hurts so much. Will I die? Mother. I'm still so young. I don't want to die." Mrs. Zhu looked at Zhu Sanlu's appearance and felt even more heartache. "Lu, don't worry. Mother won't let you die. If you really die, Mother will report all the people who beat you today to the authorities and make them pay with their lives." Mrs. Zhu's eyes carried a trace of malice. When the surrounding villagers heard this, especially the ones who beat him up, they were a bit worried. If Zhu Sanlu really died, they couldn't lose their lives for such a person, right? Anti-family Zhu, this matter is pardonable. They didn't beat your third son for no reason. Isn't it because your third son was in the wrong first? Our village has done too many immoral things and has even been drowned in a pig's cage. This time, even if your family's third brother loses his life and the matter goes to the authorities, as long as the county magistrate is a reasonable person, he won't be too harsh on the person who beat your family's third brother. One of the more impartial villagers helped to put in a fair word. Many of the other villagers who wanted to join in the fun also echoed behind. "That's right. Who told your third son to do such a thing? No one would beat someone up for no reason." Anti-family Zhu, if you have the time to blame others, why don't you educate your third son properly so that he won't harm others in the future? Mrs. Zhu was so angry that her chest hurt. It was clearly her Sanlu who had suffered. These people were too heavy-handed, but now they wanted to criticize her. Mrs. Zhu replied fiercely, "Shouldn't Lord Li Zheng have the final say on how to deal with our Sanlu? You guys came up and beat me up, and you even hit me so hard. You can't even reason with me. I'm going to look for Lord Li Zheng to judge and ask if you have the authority to abuse your power and almost beat my Sanlu to death." Mrs. Zhu thought she was right. After all, Zhu Sanlu's injuries were too serious. If Lord Li Zheng could speak up for their family Zhu, they might even be able to ask for medical fees. The injuries on Zhu Sanlu's body were not light. It was estimated that he would need to recuperate for a while. Not only that, but he also had to spend a large sum of money on medical expenses and some supplements for Zhu Sanlu. All of these cost money. Their family Zhu was not rich. How could they take out so much money at once? The best way was to let Lord Li Jing be the judge and let the people who beat Zhu Sanlu pay for his medical expenses. The people who beat Zhu Sanlu also thought they were right. Zhu Sanlu deserved it, so they agreed to let Lord Li Jing be the judge. A diligent villager took up the task of running this errand and quickly called Lord Li Jing over. Chapter 2165. Li Zheng, who understood the situation, was also furious at what Zhu Sanlu had done. The culture of a village was very important, and Zhu Sanlu's actions were clearly damaging to the culture. If he were these parents, and their children were taught to read and write by Zhu Sanlu, but Zhu Sanlu taught them such dirty things, he would probably teach Zhu Sanlu a lesson too. Old Madame Zhu saw Li Jingdaren's sullen face and didn't speak, so she cried out, "Li Jingdaren, our family Sanlu was beaten so miserably. You see, he almost lost his life. You can be the judge. If you want to teach people a lesson, then teach them a lesson. There's no need to beat them so ruthlessly and directly beat them to death. My husband passed away early, and it's not easy to raise these children. I don't want to see my children die before me." Seeing Mrs. Zhu crying and crying while slapping her thigh, she looked very sad. Lord Li Zheng's head hurt just looking at her. He was already frustrated, and Mrs. Zhu's voice was so loud that he could not calm down. However, he could not scold Mrs. Zhu, so he only said to Mrs. Zhu patiently, "Auntie family Zhu, don't cry. What your third son did was intolerable, so it's normal for him to arouse the anger of the people. According to our village's rules, even if we don't drown this kind of person, we should chase him out of Shuilan village to prevent him from ruining the culture." The villagers who joined in the fun followed behind Li Zheng and said, "Yes, this kind of person should be chased out of the village and stop harming people. I also support chasing this kind of person out. He's too inhumane. Although my children were not harmed, I also think that this Zhu Sanlu should be chased out." Mrs. Zhu was still crying, but when she heard that Li Zheng wanted to chase Zhu Sanlu out of the village, she instantly panicked. "Lord Li Zheng, our Sanlu cannot be chased out. If he leaves Shuilan village, won't he be waiting for death? He's already been beaten to this state, please don't chase him out." Li Zheng coughed softly, he could not bear to do it. However, as the village chief, he had to convince the villagers when he handled matters. Only then could he establish his authority. Also, if there were any conflicts in the village, he could step forward to mediate. Otherwise, if he lost his dignity, who in the village would listen to him in the future? Family Zhu's sister-in-law, I didn't say anything about chasing her away. However, your Sanlu has been taught a lesson today, so don't complain. After speaking to Mrs. Zhu, Li Jing turned to the children's parents. As for you all, you've already vented your anger. I think Zhu Sanlu's injuries are not light this time. This matter ends here. Both parties should not pursue it further. After Li Jing finished speaking, the parents of the children said unhappily, "Lord Li Jing, we can teach people a lesson, but that's because this Zhu Sanlu has led our children astray. But from now on, we won't let our children come to school anymore. Previously, we paid half a year's worth of school fees in one go. The family Zhu should refund the school fees to us, right?" "That's right. We spent a lot of money and worked hard to earn it. In the end, our children didn't learn anything. The family Zhu should refund the money to us. Otherwise, we can't just let it go. If the school fees aren't refunded, we'll be at a disadvantage. Lord Li Zheng, you have to make a decision for us. I want the family Zhu to refund our school fees. Then, we won't pursue this matter any further." Chapter 2166. Family Zhu's sister-in-law, you should refund the tuition fees to them. Otherwise, if this matter continues, it won't be good for all of you, village head said to Mrs. Zhu. Mrs. Zhu valued money very much. She had been holding tightly onto the tuition fees she had collected previously. Now, it would be very difficult for her to return it. Mrs. Zhu was so angry that she threw a tantrum. You want family Zhu to refund the tuition fees? You're dreaming. You beat my Sanlu up so badly. Don't you think he needs to spend money to get his injuries treated? Look at how badly he's injured. The tuition fees you paid might not even be enough to cover his medical bills. Besides, he'll be lying in bed and unable to move. How can he not buy some food to nourish his body? You'll have to spend money on all of that. You can ask family Zhu for a refund, but I'll say this first. My Sanlu's medical bills and the money to nourish his body have to be paid to us. You can't let him suffer such a heavy beating without any compensation, right? When the villagers heard Mrs. Zhu's words, they lowered their heads in disgust among themselves. They were all shocked by Mrs. Zhu's thick skin. Most people would not say such things. Only Mrs. Zhu had the nerve to say it. Village head also frowned and said, Family Zhu's sister-in-law, your request is a little too much. You know very well why your Sanlu was beaten. If you want them to pay for his medical bills, what's the point of beating him? You might as well not have taught them a lesson. Mrs. Zhu said, Lord Village Head, you can't be biased towards those people. Our family Zhu's life is not easy. If you refund the money to them, what will happen to my Sanlu? Village head was silent for a moment. Family Zhu's sister-in-law, it's fine if you don't refund the money. If you don't want them to pay for your medical bills, you can ask your Sanlu to pack up and leave the village. Mrs. Zhu's heart skipped a beat. Her voice trembled as she asked, Lord Village Head, what do you mean by this? What I'm trying to say is that I'm already giving you a light punishment by asking your family Zhu to refund the tuition fees. It doesn't matter if you don't cooperate with me. Worst comes to worst, Zhu's Sanlu will leave the village. It will save him from any trouble in the future. Mrs. Zhu glanced at the dying Zhu's Sanlu on the ground. She was not stupid. Compared to a refund, being chased out of the village was much more serious. She couldn't bear to hand over the money, but Li Zheng used this method to force her to hand it over. The more Mrs. Zhu thought about it, the more bitter she felt. She slapped her thigh and continued to cry. Oh my God, why am I so unlucky? It wasn't easy for me to live a good life, but in the blink of an eye, I'm back to being poor again. The corner of Li Zheng's mouth twitched as he urged old Madame Zhu on the ground, Auntie Zhu, are you going to refund the money or not? If you don't, I'll have someone throw your family's third son out of the village. Mrs. Zhu wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Can't I return it? The villagers ganged up to bully our family Zhu. Old man, it's all your fault for leaving so early. If you hadn't left, we wouldn't have been bullied like this. Mrs. Zhu's words made him speechless. She was clearly in the wrong, yet she was blaming others. Li Zheng's punishment was indeed light, but family Zhu didn't know how to appreciate his kindness. Although Mrs. Zhu grumbled, she went into the house and took out the money bag. She counted the money in front of Li Zheng and returned the tuition fees to their respective parents. Chapter 2167. After the parents who came to settle the score with Zhu Sanlu received the money, they warned the dying Zhu Sanlu who was lying on the ground, don't let us see you again in the future. Don't do such a thing in the future, or you'll really die next time. After the parents left, the people in the village who wanted to join in the fun also dispersed. Li Zheng stayed behind and said a few words to Mrs. Zhu, Auntie Family Zhu, don't think that I'm too harsh on your family Zhu. That's because your Sanlu is really outrageous. Today's incident is a warning and lesson to him. In the future, he should be more honest and not do such immoral things again. Otherwise, I won't be able to protect him when the time comes. Mrs. Zhu hugged Zhu Sanlu on the ground and cried even louder. Sigh, my son, why are you so pitiful? Li Zheng was speechless for a while. He knew that Mrs. Zhu was still complaining about his punishment. However, it wasn't easy for him either. After such a thing happened, if he didn't punish the family Zhu a little, other people would also have opinions. Since it was difficult to satisfy both sides, he couldn't do anything if one side complained. Looking at Mrs. Zhu hugging Zhu Sanlu on the ground and crying, Li Zheng sighed and said to Mrs. Zhu, "All right, sister-in-law, instead of crying here, why don't you call Dr. Sun over and treat your third brother's injuries?" After being reminded by Li Zheng, Mrs. Zhu finally reacted. At this time, treating Zhu Sanlu's injuries was indeed the most important thing. Old Madame Zhu wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and instructed Qisha on the side, "What are you still standing there for, woman? Why don't you hurry and call Dr. Sun over to treat your third brother?" However, Mrs. Qi was a little unhappy and stood there without taking a step. Mrs. Zhu frowned and scolded Mrs. Qi unhappily, "I say, my eldest daughter-in-law, didn't you hear what I said? Why don't you hurry and call a doctor for your third brother? As his sister-in-law, why aren't you worried or concerned about your brother-in-law's injuries?" Mrs. Qi was also a little annoyed. She snorted and said, "Mother, you only know how to favor third brother. Third brother is injured and you're so anxious, yet you still want to call a doctor for him. His injuries are so serious, it won't be good without a few taels of silver. Where did our family get so much money from? If it was before, we could still make some money because third brother opened a school. But now, it's all returned to others. Now, our family probably can't afford to pay for third brother's treatment. For a third brother, he couldn't possibly sell everything he had, right? How are the rest of the family going to survive if you empty out the family?" In the end, Mrs. Zhu's sister-in-law, Mrs. Zhu's brothers, Zhu's. Zhu. It would cost several taels of silver to treat Zhu Sanlu's injuries and get medicine. For the family Zhu now, it was undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire. So she didn't agree. She still wanted to eat and live. There were several children at home to support. She couldn't let everyone in the family Zhu's family suffer because of Zhu Sanlu, right? Zhu Dania stood at the side and heard Madame Qi's words. This time, he felt that Mrs. Qi was right. They had to consider the actual situation of the family when treating Zhu Sanlu's injuries. Chapter 2168. The whole family was counting on him, and he had a heavy responsibility. He really didn't want to add more burdens to his body. Zhu Dania frowned and said to Mrs. Zhu in a low voice, "Mother, my wife is right. We don't have much money now, so how can we treat third brother's injuries? Are you trying to make our family Zhu's life miserable?" Mrs. Zhu's face had long darkened. She angrily looked at her eldest son and daughter-in-law and scolded, "You two heartless things. Your third brother is your biological brother. Brothers should support each other. Now that he's so seriously injured and on the verge of death, all you think about is money. If his injuries aren't treated in time, he might lose his life. Do you have to watch him die before you're happy? How can you be so heartless?" Madame Qi pursed her lips and replied to Mrs. Zhu, "Mother, it's third brother's fault for courting death and insisting on doing such dirty things. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Go and see which brother is like third brother. He can't do much, but he's a burden to others." Zhu Daniu also nodded and said, "That's right, mother. Today's matter was entirely third brother's fault. If he was fine, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Madam Chi snorted softly. Besides, mother, you complain that Dainyu and I don't care about our brother. But without Dainyu and I, third brother's life couldn't go on. He stays at home and does everything all day, just like an old man. My Dainyu works himself to death all day, busying himself with all the things in the world. Now, he's doing too much work and is so tired that he's getting heatstroke. But mother, you're biased to a certain extent and never ask third brother to do any work. If we don't treat third brother's injuries now, she might lose her life alone. But if we help third brother, then our family will have to sacrifice everything and no one will have a good life in the future. Maybe because there's no food, everyone will starve to death. After Madam Chi finished speaking, Zhu Dainyu nodded in agreement. Yes, if we don't treat third brother's injuries now, one of us might die. If we help third brother, then the whole family will die. Mother, for the sake of our family, we can only sacrifice third brother. Mrs. Zhu was so angry that she started coughing violently. His eldest son and eldest daughter-in-law were singing the same tune. To put it bluntly, they were reluctant to fork out money to treat Zhu Sanlu's illness. Old Madame Zhu suddenly jumped up from the ground and rushed to Qi Shi. She slapped Qi Shi's face and then scolded, "You stinky woman, you only know how to instigate my family's Dainyu not to treat Sanlu. See if I don't teach you a lesson. Let's see if you still dare to run your mouth." Madame Qi's face was immediately imprinted with a red palm print, and her face began to swell slightly. She was stunned, and it took her a while to react. "Dinyo, look, mother hit me really hard. I'm just telling the truth about our family Zhu's future. Mother only cares about third brother and doesn't care about the lives of the rest of us. Dainyu, we still have several children to feed. Now that you can't do heavy work in the fields, we have to spend so much money to treat third brother's injuries. How can we afford it with our current situation?" Mrs. Zhu was even more furious. Chapter 2169. Just as Mrs. Zhu was about to teach Madam Qi a lesson again, Madam Qi suddenly hid behind Zhu Dainyu and said to Zhu Dainyu, "Husband, mother is going to hit someone again. Help me." Zhu Dainyu blocked Mrs. Zhu and grabbed Mrs. Zhu's hand. He said sternly, "Mother, can you stop making a fuss? Do you think our family is not chaotic enough? Do you have to lure the villagers here and make fun of our family Zhu?" Mrs. Zhu was stunned for a moment. Then, she wiped her tears and complained, "Dainyu, you can't leave your third brother alone. If your third brother is really dead, then I don't want to live either." As old Madame Zhu spoke, she suddenly fell to the ground. Like a scoundrel, she flipped over and over. She looked very sad and hopeless about life. Zhu Dainyu watched helplessly from the side. He wanted to comfort Mrs. Zhu, but Mrs. Zhu was deliberately making a fuss because she wanted him to agree to save Zhu Sanlu. Zhu Dainyu glanced at the dying Zhu Sanlu on the ground and then glanced at Mrs. Zhu. At this moment, his mood was very complicated. He couldn't bear to see his mother and brother like this. But when he thought of the high medical fees, his heart beat a retreat. To put it bluntly, it was all because he didn't have money and the family Zhu had to continue living. He had to plan well because he was the only man in the family who could take responsibility. Zhu Dainyu was silent for a moment. Then, he said to Mrs. Zhu, "Mother, it's not impossible to save third brother." Mrs. Zhu looked up excitedly. "Dainyu, are you willing to save your third brother?" Zhu Dainyu took a deep breath and replied to Mrs. Zhu, "Mother, you know that our family doesn't have money. If you want to save third brother, why don't you go to second brother and ask him to take out some money?" Right now, second brother's family was doing pretty well. Taking a few taels of silver wouldn't affect their family at all. "We're all blood brothers. Second brother can't just watch as we're unable to continue living, right? After hearing Zhu Daniu's words, Mrs. Zhu fell silent. Asking Zhu Eru for money. How was that possible? If it was before, it would have been fine. But after what happened yesterday, how could he bring himself to ask Zhu Eru for money? If he had listened to Zhu Eru, he wouldn't have caused such a ruckus today. Zhu Eru had reminded him, but he had scolded Eru instead. Now that she was going to ask for money, she might even be ridiculed by Zhu Eru. No, no. Mrs. Zhu waved her hand and refused. Mom, why not? Zhu Daniu asked. This method won't work. Old Madame Zhu replied weakly. Zhu Daniu said, Mom, why won't it work? Anyway, I already said that if you want to save third brother, you can only ask second brother for money. Otherwise, don't save him. Before Mrs. Zhu could reply, Mulan and Zhao Yun, who were standing in the distance, couldn't remain calm. They directly walked into the family Zhu's courtyard. They originally wanted to leave with the villagers, but when they realized that there was still a show to watch, they stood outside the courtyard and continued to watch the show. Who knew that Zhu Daniu would say something like that? Zhu Daniu didn't care if he didn't save third brother, but he couldn't rely on the second branch. Now, he even wanted to ask the second branch for money. Wasn't this a joke? Chapter 2170. Zhu Daniu met Mulan's eyes. Mulan's sharp gaze made him feel a little scared. He didn't expect that Mulan was still outside the courtyard and heard his words, so he was a little embarrassed. Second sister-in-law, don't be impulsive. Isn't it because third brother's injury is too serious and mother wants to save third brother? You also know that our lives aren't going well now and our family doesn't have any money. If we really want to save third brother, our entire family will probably starve to death. But second sister-in-law, you're different. You've built a big house and you're living a good life. Taking out some money won't affect your current life and you can even save third brother. So what? Zhu Daniu said matter-of-factly. When Mulan heard this, she sneered and replied to Zhu Daniu, eldest brother, it's easy for you to say this. Why can't you save third brother? If you really don't have any money, why don't you sell a moo of farmland and gather some money? Why do you have to reach out and ask our second branch for money? Now that we've separated from the family, our second branch doesn't want to meddle in your affairs. If you want our second branch to take out money to treat third brother, don't be delusional. Yesterday, we came over to remind third brother of his improper behavior. In the end, mother didn't believe us and even hurt our Eru's face. Don't tell me you have the nerve to ask our second branch to take out money now. How can there be such a good thing in this world? After hearing Mulan's words, Zhu Daniu felt even less confident. However, he still stubbornly replied, second sister-in-law, how can we be so calculative when we're family? This time, if you don't take out money to save third brother, the villagers might say that you and second brother are too ruthless. You don't care about your own brothers and don't care about brotherhood at all. Mulan knew that Zhu Daniu was only threatening her. However, she wasn't someone who cared about her face and retorted, others can say whatever they want. However, big brother, third brother did something shameful this time and was beaten up by the villagers. Eru and I didn't take out the money to save him because we felt that it was good that he was punished. This kind of immoral person should be dealt with properly. Perhaps the people in the village would praise me and Eru for not saving him, so that third brother wouldn't come out to harm people again. Our family Zhu is already embarrassing enough. If you want to make a fool of yourself, go ahead. I don't care. As soon as Mulan finished speaking, Zhu Daniu didn't know how to respond. What Mulan said was indeed reasonable. If the second branch really didn't pay for Zhu Sanlu's treatment, they might even be praised by the villagers. Seeing that Zhu Daniu was speechless, Mulan curled her lips and said to Mrs. Zhu, "Mother, doesn't third brother also have a few mu of land in his hands? Why do you have to beg big brother to treat third brother's injury? Directly sell third brother's 1 mu of land. Not only will you have money to treat third brother's injury, but you can also buy some good things for third brother to nourish his body. You can't delay any longer. Otherwise, if third brother drags on, he might really lose his life." After hearing Mulan's words, Mrs. Zhu felt that it was very reasonable. Gritting her teeth, she said, "Yes, Sanlu has a few mu of land in his hands. We have to treat his injury. Otherwise, we'll sell 1 mu of land." Zhu Daniu frowned and was very unwilling. "Mother, we don't have enough food in our family's fields. If we sell another mu of land, the harvest will be even smaller. How will we survive?" Chapter 2171. That's a problem for the future. Anyway, I have to save your younger brother now. If your younger brother dies, I can't live either. It's meaningless to think about it now. After old Madame Zhu finished speaking, she hugged Zhu Sanlu with a firm look. Zhu Daniu was displeased. He knew very well that since it was Mrs. Zhu's decision, he couldn't change it. If he insisted on not selling the land, Mrs. Zhu would make more trouble. However, if he were to sell the land, he would feel uncomfortable and unwilling. "Mom, if you really insist on selling the land to treat my younger brother's illness, I have no objection. After all, it's my younger brother's land. I can't monopolize it. But there's one thing that I have to make clear. After my younger brother sells the land, he will have less land in his hands. You and my younger brother will live together with me. It's like I'm supporting this family alone." Mrs. Zhu frowned for a second. She seemed to know what Zhu Daniu was going to say. "Boss, what do you mean by this?" "Mom, I want to separate from my younger brother. Our eldest branch will live separately from my younger brother in the future. My younger brother can do whatever he wants. It has nothing to do with our eldest branch anyway. Even if he sells all the land, I won't care anymore." After Zhu Daniu finished his words, Mrs. Zhu couldn't stay calm. She stared at Zhu Daniu and said in a trembling voice, "Daniu, if you separate from the family now, won't you drive your younger brother to death? He's too weak to stand a gust of wind. What can he do? Even if he has land in his hands, he can't do the work in the land." Mrs. Qi immediately jumped out and said, "Mom, you're wrong. You want to take advantage of our eldest branch. My younger brother is in such a poor condition. Do you want Daniu to take care of him for the rest of his life? Daniu isn't third brother's father. We already said that blood brothers should settle accounts clearly. Our first branch can't possibly suffer such a big loss, right?" Zhu Daniu said in a deep voice, "Mother, third younger brother is not young anymore. He is not a child anymore. He can't always hide under my wings. Second younger brother has already separated. It's time for our first branch to separate from third younger brother. However, Mother, it's not like I won't support you in the future. It's just that the first branch's things will be separated from the third branch's things. If third brother really can't survive in the future, he can't blame me." Zhu Daniu's words were very resolute. From his tone, it seemed that he was determined to separate from the family. If he brought it up now, it would be a good opportunity. If he brought it up in the future, it would not be so easy. "No, we can't split up. Boss, don't make a fuss. You are brothers. You can't just watch your third brother die, right?" Mrs. Zhu cried and begged Zhu Daniu. Zhu Daniu was speechless. This made him seem like a heartless person. Obviously, he was the one who would suffer losses if they didn't separate from the family. His mother only cared about third younger brother and didn't care about how he would live in the future. Mother. Don't say any more. We must separate from the family today. Zhu Dainyi sighed and said with determination. Mrs. Qi also agreed, yes, we must separate from the family. What if third younger brother does such an unforgivable thing again in the future? What if third younger brother brings trouble to our first branch? How many acres of land can we afford to lose in the future? Besides, we will be laughed at because of him. We can't afford to lose face. Chapter 2172. During this period of living with Mrs. Zhu, she had to let her do all the chores. Mrs. Zhu used her identity as Mrs. Zhu's mother-in-law to order her around. If she hadn't done something wrong before and lost Zhu Dainyi's trust, without Zhu Dainyi's favoritism, it would be difficult for Mrs. Zhu, an old woman, to be arrogant. Moreover, the family Zhu's money was also handed over to Mrs. Zhu for safekeeping. If they separated from the family, the money would naturally fall on her again. Without Mrs. Zhu to manage it in the future, it would be so comfortable. Mrs. Zhu cried and shouted, "No, you two are too cruel. How can you treat your third younger brother like this?" Mrs. Qi put her hands on her waist and raised her chin. "Mother, you can't say that. We didn't do anything wrong. If you think we're cruel, you can go to the village and ask whether we did anything wrong." Now that Zhu Sanlu had become the most hated existence in the village, it was strange that someone would side with Zhu Sanlu and speak up for him. Mrs. Zhu suddenly had no choice but to cry even louder. She really didn't know what to say. She secretly cursed Zhu Dainyi and Mrs. Qi several times in her heart, but she still couldn't change Zhu Dainyi's decision to separate from the family. Zhu Dainyi sighed deeply. "Mother, don't cry and shout. Third younger brother should work hard in the future. It's not like he can't live anymore. I'll send him to his room now. Then I'll see Dr. Sunday. In the future, our first branch and the third branch will part on good terms." Mrs. Zhu was dumbfounded. She would do whatever Zhu Dainyi said. Thinking that Zhu Sanlu couldn't live alone in the future, Mrs. Zhu cried even more sadly. Zhu Dainyi could only ignore Mrs. Zhu. No matter what, he couldn't be soft-hearted this time. Once he was soft-hearted, he would be the one who was unlucky and pitiful in the future. Mulan and Zhao Yun witnessed this lively scene, and the two of them walked back in a good mood. Now that Zhu Sanlu had been beaten up like this and had lost half his life, his days were already not good. Who would have thought that Zhu Dainyi would suddenly propose to split the family assets? He was afraid that his life would be even more difficult in the future. However, no matter how pitiful Zhu Sanlu was, he deserved it. They had no sympathy for Zhu Sanlu. On the way back, Mulan and Zhao Yun talked and laughed. Mulan was not in a good mood. "Yuner, it said that good will be rewarded with good, and evil will be repaid with evil. It's not that there's no retribution, it's just that it's not time yet. I didn't expect my third brother's retribution to come so soon." Zhao Yuner also laughed a few times. Of course, such a disgusting person will be dealt with by the heavens sooner or later. Looking at my mother's distressed expression, I also feel happy. My mother spoiled my son. My third brother became like this because my mother spoiled him. Otherwise, if she had taught him a good lesson, such a thing would not have happened. Zhao Yun nodded and replied, "Of course, they were born from the same mother. I think second brother who is more than 1,000 times better than your third brother. My husband was not favored since he was young." Mulan sighed helplessly. Thinking about it, it was a good thing that he was not favored. At least he was more sensible and knew how to care for others. As the two of them talked, they had already returned to the front of the two families' houses. They had gone out early in the morning to watch the commotion, and by the time they came back, they had already wasted a lot of time. At this time, everyone in the family was up. There was a faint smoke in the kitchen of Zhao Yun'er's house at this time. Liang Jinqiao was probably cooking. In the courtyard of Mulan's house, Mu Hin had also come out of the kitchen. Chapter 2173. Looking at Mu Hin's sweaty face, Zhao Tianan was very distressed. He took out a handkerchief and handed it to Mu Hin, and said softly to Mu Hin, "Come on, wipe your sweat." Looking at the handkerchief that Zhao Tianan handed over, Mu Hin was slightly stunned. "This handkerchief, take it and wipe it." "Do you want me to wipe it for you?" Zhao Tianan grinned, revealing a row of big white teeth, which was very charming. Mu Hin hurriedly shook his head. "No, I can do it myself." Saying that, Mu Hin took the handkerchief from Zhao Tianan's hand and wiped the sweat on his face. After wiping the sweat, Mu Hin stared at the handkerchief in his hand for a long time. Zhao Tianan asked with concern, "Xin, what's wrong? Do you like this handkerchief? If you like it, then I'll give it to you." Mu Hin suddenly stuffed the handkerchief into Zhao Tianan's hand and said in a low voice, "I don't want your handkerchief. Xin, you'll be my wife in the future. When we're together, there's no need to divide between you and me. If you like this handkerchief, just take it. You don't have to be polite with me." Zhao Tianan thought that Mu Hin was shy, so he didn't take the handkerchief that he handed over. Mu Hin blushed slightly. "Who's your wife?" "We're not married yet. Anyway, we'll be married soon. You'll be my wife," Zhao Tianan said. It was the first time that he had spoken so shamelessly. However, when he saw that Mu Hin's face was not very good, the smile on the corners of his mouth suddenly froze. "What's wrong with you? Did I say something wrong? Are you unhappy?" Zhao Tianan asked cautiously. Mu Hin shook his head. "Nothing." How could Zhao Tianan believe Mu Hin's words? "I know you must be angry. Can you tell me what I said or did wrong? Don't keep quiet. If there's anything, let's communicate properly. Don't leave any misunderstandings." Mu Hin took a deep breath and agreed with what Zhao Tianan said. If there was anything between two people, they had to communicate properly. Otherwise, if they were together, it would cause a big misunderstanding, which would affect the relationship between the two people. "Tianan, you're a boy. Where did you get such a beautiful handkerchief? You're even carrying it in your pocket. Did the girl make it for you?" Mu Hin asked with a hint of grievance. Zhao Tianan glanced at the handkerchief in his hand and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xin, you misunderstood. It wasn't given to me by a girl. It was given to me by my second elder sister." Hearing Zhao Tianan say that it was given to him by Zhao Yun'er, Mu Hin showed a touch of embarrassment. She had thought that another girl was in a relationship with Zhao Tianan. It turned out that she was jealous of the wrong person. This was naturally very embarrassing. "Your second elder sister gave it to you?" Yes. She not only gave it to me, but also to other people in my family." Mu Hin's face became redder. He lowered his head and said with embarrassment, "I've wronged you." Zhao Tianan smiled and shook his head. "It's okay. Now we can explain it clearly." Zhao Tianan was not angry at all at this time. Instead, he was very happy. Mu Hin was angry because she thought that the handkerchief was given to him by another girl. At least, it meant that he was in Mu Hin's heart. Otherwise, it was impossible for a person to be jealous. "Yes." Mu Hin answered with embarrassment. Chapter 2174. Mulan and Zhao Yun are watched from the side. It was like a scene of two young people falling in love. Mulan couldn't help but feel a little envious. Unlike her and Zhu Eru, who were introduced by a matchmaker, the two families felt that they were suitable for each other. Although Zhu Eru was good, and she liked Zhu Eru very much now. But she still hoped that the relationship between Zhao Tianan and Mu Hin would be like that. The feeling of two people who loved each other and then rushed to the hall of marriage after spending some time together was completely different from the feeling of getting married directly. Because once they got married, it meant that they would have children. And after giving birth, a woman's focus was her family and children. It was impossible for her to be like Mu Hin and Zhao Tianan, who could play together happily without caring about anything else. Unfortunately, she couldn't have another chance in life, so she could only envy others. Zhao Yun looked at Zhao Tianan and Mu Hin together. Both of them had happy smiles on their faces, so she said to Mulan, "Sister-in-law Mulan, I think the two of them have a good relationship. Why don't we wait until we're done with the farm work and prepare for our wedding?" "Aw, isn't it a little early?" "It's not early, it's not early. I think my little brother Tian can't wait to marry Mu Axayan into his family. If it weren't for the fact that both of our families are too busy, I would have arranged the wedding of their two children long ago. Then I'll discuss it with Mu Hin." Mulan smiled. Zhao Yun nodded in response, but she made a joke. "Sister-in-law Mulan, I think you're the one who can't bear to let Mu Hin marry into your family so soon, right?" Mulan also laughed. "Of course I can't bear to part with my sister. A married daughter is like spilled water. In the future, she'll be a member of your Zhao family. However, it's a good thing that we're neighbors. Even if Axian marries into your Zhao family, she can still visit us every day. It's very convenient for her to come back and visit us. If our two families are not together, it will be more troublesome to communicate with each other. I am really reluctant to let her marry into our family. At least she can stay at home for a while. After all, she only had this one sister. The people in her family were all good-for-nothings. She didn't want to bother with them. Now, he only hoped that his only sister could live a good life. Fortunately, God was fair and helped Mu Hin find such a good marriage. Being in-laws with Zhao Yuner was probably a blessing that many people could not hope for. Zhao Yuner understood how Mulan felt. She held her hand and assured her, "Don't worry, sister-in-law Mulan. Mu Hin is definitely the best choice for Tianan. Not only will you be here, but you and your sister will take care of each other. Moreover, my family and Tianan will definitely not let Mu Hin down. We'll definitely treat her well. Yuner, I believe in you. You're good people to begin with." Zhao Yuner's smile deepened. When the two of them walked to Mulan's courtyard, Mu Hin greeted Mulan and said, "Sister, you're back. I saw that I've already finished cooking. Come and eat." "Okay." Zhao Yuner returned to her own home. After breakfast, she fed Tian milk and washed the family's clothes. Zhao Yuner was so tired that she was sweating profusely. Fortunately, there were many people at home, and there were people to help her with the small matters. Otherwise, she would definitely not be able to handle it alone. When it was past 10 in the morning, Qian Zhonghu came looking for her. Chapter 2175. Qian Zhozhe took a few deep breaths and rested for a few seconds before saying to Zhao Yun, I have something to trouble you with. Zhao Yun knew that under normal circumstances, Qian Zhozhe would not take the initiative to ask for help. Since she came to ask for help, it must be because she could not do it herself. Zhao Yun replied politely to this fourth aunt, if you have anything to say, just say it. Don't be polite with me. Qian Zhozhe smiled. Actually, it's not a big deal. It's just that it's not easy for Jing to return home. She just came over. This girl is filial. As soon as she came back, she brought a lot of good things for all of us. Also, Jing brought young Master Jing over. Your grandfather and grandmother mean that you should treat Jing and young Master Jing well in our old Zhao family. But our family's cooking skills are not very good. I'm afraid that young Master Jing won't like it. In the past, young Master Jing has been talking about your cooking skills, so he wants you to cook a few dishes for him. This afternoon, all 3 families will go over for lunch. It's rare for everyone to get together and have a good meal. After hearing Qian Zhou's words, Zhao Yun was silent for a moment. She was wondering what it was, but it turned out that she was asking her to cook. Thinking about it, it was Zhao Jing's first time returning home after getting married. She could not treat her too shabbily. If she did not treat her well, Zhao Jing's face would be lost. When Zhao Jing returned to her in-laws' family, she would have no status at all. For Zhao Jing's sake, the old Zhao family had to maintain some face. Of course, Zhao Jing brought good things for everyone when she came back this time, which became a favor to her. Of course, the other families had to treat her well. Hu Chunhua was a powerful old woman. When she saw Zhao Jing bring back good things this time, she naturally tried her best to curry favor with her. The next time Zhao Jing returned to her family, she would definitely continue to bring things. Hu Chunhua was very shrewd when it came to people who could benefit from it. She knew how to please them. Qian Zhui already knew that Zhao Yun'er did not agree, so she sighed and said, It's true that we can't find anyone else. Otherwise, we wouldn't have let Yun'er do all the work. Fourth aunt knows that you are very busy every day. It must be very tiring for you to cook in the kitchen on such a hot day. Why don't I go back and make something with your aunt? Zhao Yun'er shook her head and said, Fourth aunt, let me go. Young Master Jing usually eats exotic delicacies. Now that he's in old Zhao's house, he might not be used to the food if it's too bad. If he's unhappy, then it won't be so easy for my cousin to return to her parents' home next time. Qian Zhui hurriedly replied with a smile, All right, girl, you can go with fourth aunt. We're all doing this for Jing. She's just a concubine after all. It's not easy for her to live in her husband's family. Now that she has returned to her maternal family, we, her maternal family, have to take good care of her. Zhao Yun'er nodded in agreement. For a woman, her maternal family was the last thing she could rely on. If her maternal family did not do a good job, the one who suffered the most was Zhao Jing. Zhao Jing was already pitiful enough without Li Chuiying as her mother. As her cousin, there was no harm in helping her with something as trivial as this. If she did not help with something as trivial as this, she would appear too petty in the eyes of others. Fourth aunt, wait for me. I'll go wash my hands and hand over some things. All right. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.